Okay, I believe we're live, and thank you everyone for hanging out. Hopefully, the audio problems have been resolved this time around, and I am not, struggling to get back up on our feet this time. Thanks everyone for coming. This is Smudboy, UDP, and now we have xLetalis, the prolific YouTuber who does not stop making videos. Apparently, he does one a day. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'd like to see that happen. I
I'm
don't think.
trying.
Yeah, you're trying. Okay, man, that's crazy. I think that would just change my lifestyle like you would not believe. But I'm glad that someone can do it, and if it's anyone, it's going to be you because you have a lot of passion in just about anything related to gaming, and it's glad to have you here, man.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay, so today we're going to be doing 3 videos. They won't take too long, I hope. One's about 2 minutes, one's 15. And the other one, well, that'll be the length. That's the third one. And we're looking at Dragon Age. And the reason why we're looking at Dragon Age is a few comments have been made by one of the creative directors. I believe his name is John Epler, who's working on the next Dragon Age game. Whatever that may or may not be, we still don't know. We have no idea, aside from it having a hashtag and a symbol of a statuette thing. We don't know exactly yet. So that's all we know, but some comments have been made, so we wanted to paint a picture before we get into those comments about where Dragon Age is going, or where it came from, where it's going. So we're going to look at one of the many trailers. I don't know if this is the official trailer. There's about 4 of them. So this is the one that really stuck out in my book, just because there's something special. Like, it sounds like there's going to be something special about this game when you listen and watch this trailer. And it's not too long, it's not too preachy. It's just right in my book. So let's go through it.
Let those who would destroy us step into the light.
Now, to me, that means that you're an Inquisitor, you're seeking someone out, they're in darkness, you're trying to find them. That makes sense. Now, outside of that, if you didn't know anything about the word Inquisition, you'd be like, well, duh, you want your enemies to be discovered. So it sounds kind of stupid. But because you're the Inquisitor and this is an Inquisition, you're thinking, oh, you're hunting people down, this makes sense. Okay, I gotcha. Now, we all know this scene because previously we were shown was that PAX? No, was that it must have been another presentation where they showed Leliana tied up. And there was a whole demo of what was going on. And we were told, apparently, that how we treat her depends on her future behavior with us.
Yeah.
And then we discover, oh no, this is a giant time loop or time warp, and this is never going to happen again, and you're actually erasing the future. So a little fib there by Mr. Laidlaw, but I guess if you're in the future world where anything's possible, you could say whatever you like. But, See, there's a beautiful shot of Sarah. Sarah, to me, was a mystery. She was whimsical and wild and magical and elven. And that was all we knew. And by golly, I wish they went back to that motif of just her being normal and wild and a hunter or something. Not, not some deranged Robin Hood knockoff.
The rat's Robin Hood.
I don't know what she is. I can't characterize her.
The world is tearing itself apart.
This music works. This is beautiful. You have all these quick scenes. There's characters walking. It's zooming. It's just, this is a beautiful trailer to me.
Chaos has left its mark upon me.
Now, is there actually... Is this... It's Morrigan on the left, I think.
Yep.
Yes.
And that is definitely Cullen, or it could be Cullen's helmet. I don't know.
That's Cullen, but I've never
Yeah.
seen him wear that lion helmet.
Really? Didn't he wear it when at the Siege of Haven? I thought he was... he wore it there.
No, he, at least the first one I remember in all the cutscenes, he didn't wear a helmet at all.
Huh. Okay.
But he never wore one.
Did he not wear it in this particular scene? Because I think this happens in the game. This is I forgot the place. It's where you meet
travel.
Corypheus.
It's the Elven temple.
Yeah, that exactly.
It could be. It's just that was like 72 hours into my gameplay, so that's a long time for me.
Well, let's also remember that the second video we're going through, we're going to see a lot of differences between the final product and what they were showing us. So, and this is all promotional material, so it's bound to have some differences. I don't know if this is a BioWare thing or just a gaming thing. They tend to change as development goes through, but this was like, I don't know, 6 months till release? Around there? I love that shot of the guy just getting pushed back. Then he's rolling under. Like, these are things you can't do in the game, of course, but I'm just saying. It's like, oh yeah, I'm getting jumped on by a giant lizard and it didn't hurt me.
I am hunted for the power I wield.
See, that's interesting.
No.
That's really interesting because if you're the Inquisitor, you're the hunter, but now he's saying people are hunting him. You're like, oh, there's a twist. So just from a basic literary understanding of words and the premise, it's like, okay, I like where this is going. Just creatively. You're saying, okay, I'm no longer hunting, I'm also being hunted. Great. And of course, there's a big green explosion, which means nothing to me, but okay. There's that magical dagger from Dragon Age 2. It's just always handy, kind of like how Mass Effect always had the Predator gun just pop up whenever you needed it. Like, yep, we got this dagger. Does everything.
I will die first.
Lead them or fall. This is like Mass Effect 2's Fight for the Lost, I guess. Never really stuck around. Just promotional material lines means absolutely nothing. I don't think there's ever a failure state in the game that I can think of.
No, there isn't.
You just
I think it should be lead them or, not. They're still going to follow you.
they'll get along just fine. So yeah, that was my favorite Dragon Age Inquisition trailer. Again, there's a bunch of others. You could watch them if you like. This just worked musically, tonally. Everything sort of jived in a way. Now we're going to look at the next video, which is was it Germany? Was it made? I can't remember the actual name of the.
That was probably the behind closed doors reveal, because a lot of this was the Germany stuff was leaked, I think. So you see, the guy's he's on a camera phone or something.
Right. Okay. Well, that should be fine. Let's just figure out the meaning and the wonderful features that we saw in this demo, which a lot of us loved and sort of made us want to buy the game.
Yeah, because you got two different types. You got pre-alpha, which is this one, and then you got the alpha footage as well, which happened.
It's really well made. It's worth seeing if you want to see it. So, just wanted to tell you guys about that. Thanks again for watching.
With Crestwood, we've come to an area with a small town, and the region takes its name from that area. It's part of Ferelden, which was relatively untouched by the Blight, and We've come here in large part because this is a place we've already visited. The Inquisition has established its foothold here. We have taken control of an area, and our men are in position. And in response to that, enemies have decided to counterattack. Receiving word that that was coming, we've decided to come here because as Inquisitor, one of our core goals is to lead from the front, to be an inspiration to the people that we protect and the people that serve with us. As we make our way down to the beach, we can see what appear to be warboats in the water. That's a bad sign. We've probably got the enemy already making their landing. Also, we can see the coruscating green wall of energy. That's a symptom of the larger problem facing Ferelden right now. That giant breach in the sky that has ripped open a hole between the veil, the thing that keeps out the demons, is causing anomalies all throughout the world. This breach that we see here is a rift under the water. It's inaccessible to us at this point, but it's something we'd want to resolve long term. How we do that? Well, I'll leave that to you to find out when we play the game.
Okay, so does that actually happen in the game? Is there a rift that happens underwater?
Yes, that is at Crestwood.
Okay.
But no matter what, you're always going to drain the area, and you're going to get access to it anyway. There's only one way to really do it.
Oh, so you can't build a submarine or a bell and go dive in?
I wish. It's not as exciting as they show it to be now.
So you can't get like a biotic bubble babe, and she could make like this big magical bubble, and you all go down, and you can't do anything like that. All right, that's not exactly advertised. Okay, that's fine.
In Dragon Age Inquisition, there will be a lot of fighting. Conflict is really the heart and soul of the franchise, and coming up.
Yeah, conflict is the heart and soul. Thank you, Mr. Layla. Conflict is the heart and soul of any story. Yeah, I think there are conflicts in stories throughout the millennia. We've had them, so video games do have conflict. So yeah, this is definitely a game with a story. Thank you.
Ahead of us, of course, with the enemies making their landing. As we do so, one thing that's very important to note is that combat does not automatically scale when you're out in the explored regions. The enemies there will be as tough as they're going to be, meaning sometimes they'll be far too difficult for you to defeat on first encounter. Other times, you'll be over-leveled from them, which is in fact the case for what we're encountering here.
Okay, I think he's actually saying the truth. I don't recall any enemy scaling in the game. I think it was all static.
Yes. There were places whereby a lot of the rifts were kind of tertiary in terms of objectives, but yeah, you had like some parts in the hinterlands where it's like level 9 monsters, and you were mostly like level 5, and you had to like wait around for. But that's basically means a lot of the stuff that were the later levels were just optional things just to return for extra leveling experience or maybe an item. That's about it.
Like the dragons.
Yeah, dragons optional in Dragon Age.
That's right. It's not in this part of. I think it's the second part. We're not going to go through the second part where they said they spent a lot of time on the 8 or 9 dragons, and they're completely optional. It's like, great, you didn't tie it into the main story. You didn't just nothing. You could just randomly find it. It's like, thanks. It's really, really nice of you to do that.
One of our goals with Inquisition is to make sure that you have as much control over your gameplay experience as possible. To that end, we've given you direct control of the camera. Close in with a locked-on camera to make sure you're tracking your target and never lose your focus. Further back allows you to see more of the battlefield and spread your attacks out accordingly.
Is that? I don't recall the camera control being an issue. I thought it was more of a make it for console first and then make it for PC. Was camera control a big problem?
Not really. The only issue that I really had was the combat mechanics, because you basically had to hold down left mouse button all the time, which makes to the point is might just have an auto attack system.
Yes, that's true. They implemented an auto attack much later in a patch.
Well, it wasn't auto. Is it R that you have to hit or something on PC?
You have to hit it once, and that's it.
But
that was like a year later.
Yeah, but it's like you have to be within range, so your guy could just be swinging his sword going, "Ha, have at you," and he's like 20 meters.
Oh yeah.
I've seen a lot of problems with the. In this case, it's the warrior where he has this grappling hook or whatever, and it doesn't actually bring the enemy towards you, or it fails a lot of times. I've never actually played the warrior class. I don't know, but I've seen, was it Talking Ape? I think he did a few videos on that. And they don't actually, well, half the time it works, half the time it doesn't. So
It's a gimmick.
yeah, I guess it's part of KOTOR. It's part of course, Mass Effect. But it's kind of like, can you guys get the mechanics working so we can actually do the thing we wanted to do that you said it would do?
Yeah. What about a tactical camera? I had problems with that. It was worse than Origins.
The one where like you're fighting a dragon and its wing just covers up your entire screen.
Yeah, you couldn't zoom it out, and it would collide with the terrain as well. It was just weird, and there were other issues. I couldn't remember them quite as well, but I remember I was trying to pause the game, switch to tactical camera, select my entire party, and tell them to go somewhere or tell them to attack somebody, and I had difficulties doing that. I think I had to select them one by one or something. It was just worse than Origins in many ways.
Doesn't sound good.
Your Eminence, the call to defend Crestwood. It wasn't outlaws like we thought. It's Red Templars. They attacked the village to draw us out, and then a larger force assaulted the keep. The old tunnels, Inquisitor. They'll be inside the walls before we can rally.
Above and beyond everything else, the Inquisitor is a leader. These men we see here are our men. They belong to the Inquisition. They've pledged to work with us. And they've fallen under attack, leaving us with a choice. Do we have them stay with the wounded, patch up as many of our troops as possible, possibly raising morale? Do we have them move to defend the village with whoever can still walk? Or do we send them back to the keep, having them focus their efforts on preserving the power base we've already built up? We're going to perceive that as the greater good for this playthrough, so that'll be the choice we select.
See, this is pretty cool. I mean, we didn't obviously get this option. Crestwood was a lot different in the game, but
I was about to say that.
yeah, this is one of the major examples that I was like, wow, this is going to be a really interesting game when you have all these things happening on the level, and it's timed probably because there's events that are happening and you have to choose. And maybe it's possible if you're really quick, you can do both, but we never got to see that because this never happened. And it's kind of sad when you have choice, and they've obviously programmed this. This was a working demo, and for some reason, no, we're not going to do it anymore. Just, it's not didn't pass QA. Just no one really liked it. Major selling point of the game. Like, okay,
There's too many choices in this. We can't have it.
Get every able soldier on their feet. I want you defending the keep.
Inquisitor, of course.
Go to the keep. What about Crestwood?
Crestwood needs the Inquisition strong.
Choices, of course, are defined by their consequence, what effect they have on your game. As we'll talk about a little later, sometimes this takes place in terms of content that you might see or might not see. But here you can see a specific example of Varric being quite upset at our decision. The reactions of your followers and their interactions are something that we consider to be the heart of the Dragon Age franchise. And that annoyance on Varric's part is going to come back to haunt us.
Thanks for getting rid of that, Mike. The heart of Dragon Age, just rip it out. Thanks. Really helping out the entire project there.
It's Cullen with his problem-solving abilities. It's like, there's a problem arising here, just send Cullen in. He'll just sort it all.
It makes you sad. It's like, thanks for this functioning demo that we're never going to get. The heart of the game, just gone.
Play through the game later on.
Crestwood is a version of the Red Templar is better.
We sent their home to the keep.
Come on, Inquisitor. Let's get over there. Now, we can change our minds right now. In Dragon Age Inquisition, actions speak louder than words. We could climb down there and try to protect Crestwood Village from those attacking forces. But we're going to stick to our previous decision, continue on to the keep to protect it.
See, that's awesome. You can say, I'm going to do something, but he's like, nope, I'm going to run over there anyway. So you're sort of appeasing the people socially. It's like, no, I'm going to save these people's lives, which you don't have to. But that takes the choices in the game, or at least, like, say, the dialogue wheel from BioWare and adding to it, saying, yep, you can make the choice, and then you could actually literally change your mind and make another choice which is the same thing. That to me is great. That's a good way of, it's like talking in Mass Effect and then like turning around and blowing someone's head off after you've already resolved the situation peacefully. It just adds to the game.
At this point, in order to avoid more troops, we're actually going to leave the road.
Inquisition will offer the player any number of opportunities. Opportunities for discovery, opportunities to explore off the beaten path, opportunities to find ancient lore, cool treasures, ancient mystical items, or, as we'll see up here, the landing zone for the Red Templars' boats provides us with an opportunity to attack our enemies. As a counterattack, we can use fire that we've equipped, brought with us for just this kind of purpose, and use it to destroy the boats, cutting off the retreat, preventing them from getting in our way later on in the course of the game.
I didn't quite see it, but he equipped Antivan Fire, which I think is an actual thing in the lore. I don't know if it's a gameplay thing, but I'm quite sure this never happens in the game.
Nope.
Yeah, and
it's all static.
It seems like a weight. Like, this is such a simple thing to remove, and it's all been done in this demo. It's all working, and they just scrapped it for whatever. Like, I don't know, glitches, bugs. It's just like, oh, let's not do this anymore. It's just too basic. It's too simple. It's boats on a beach that you light on fire. Like, oh my god.
The frostbite can only take so much.
we need more we need more trees. These particle effects from fire and still static images. Yeah, they're just not good. Either that, or these are actually destructible objects. And this is actually taxing on the engine. It is a possibility. So maybe, who knows?
Shall we join the fight?
Taking out their landing boats is an absolutely worthwhile use of our time. And while we can see the rift up ahead is something that we want to deal with in the long term, we can see how time is already ticking down. The Inquisition's keep strength is falling. If we don't do something to prevent that from happening, we still stand a chance to lose it. As Mark said, our actions do speak louder than our words, and it's up to us to make sure that we're moving quickly enough to preserve our holdings.
I like the little timer on the right. I thought that was kind of cool, constantly reminding you that there's things are going to happen if you don't act. It's like a little tension bar, literally telling you, start, move, get your ass in gear, or things are going to go sour. I don't think we ever got that. I don't think we ever got timed events that were focused and important to get finished with. I can't recall.
I just find
the only one I can recall is the ball at Orlais. What was it called?
It was
the ending of the second chapter. That was the only timed event that I recall.
Oh yes, you're right.
If you have to be fashionably late. Like if you're too late, you lose points, and if you're too early, you lose points. But if you're just late enough, you gain points. Something like that.
So they actually had a timed system. They just didn't bother to include it into the rest of the game. Just the one.
Yeah.
Jeez, that makes no sense. It's as if their QA team was like, no, we can't test that. It's too big. We need a controlled ballroom and a level in one building, like a house, as opposed to a large outdoor environment. I don't know. I'm trying to think of excuses here.
I just find it funny that we're setting fire to those ships with fire bombs, and yet we have a perfectly good mage who can cast a firebomb.
Yeah, it's like, hey,
come on, guys.
Hey, person who controls the elements, can you burn this thing? Like,
yeah.
no, you can do it. I'm too tired. Like Vivienne would actually be like prissy like that, so I could actually buy it. But it'd be like,
well, you need shale.
Yeah, you need
shale. Just
put some pigeons on the one. She'll just smash the crap out of those things.
That'd be a brilliant persuade option. Like, chill, there's pigeons they're transporting pigeons. What? Rah.
It's like any problem is solved with pigeons. Go over there. What's over there? A bunch of men who want to kill us. Why would I care about that? Well, they're transporting pigeons. Like, what? And you're telling me they're in cages? I can crush the cages? Let's do this.
Caves dot the landscape of Inquisition. Any number of dark places for you to explore will require, of course, some light. The most valuable ally in these kinds of spaces. This, you can see here, is an example of veil fire, a mystical flame that doesn't require any fuel, burns right off the raw essence of magic itself. It's very hard to create, but once you can find it, you can carry it with you in order to explore the dark caves. As an advantage, though, beyond regular flame, it has additional properties, causing magic to react accordingly. And normally we would stop here to investigate these markings or record them for our scholars.
See, this was a good element. This was actually in the game. I think out of the rest of the video, this was definitely in it. And if you had a mixed party, so you always have to bring a mage with you, always have to bring a thief and what have you, this was one of the bonuses of having a mixed party and discovering things and adventuring. So not only was this present, this was done well, I would say. I don't think it was the highlight of having a mixed party or adventuring, but it was an aspect of, gee, I have to actually mix up my party. I can't just have a full team of mages or whatever. So 1 out of 4 so far, doing okay.
Okay.
We're not lying completely to the audience. We're just getting some of them.
With the keep still under attack, we have better things to do at the time. Yes!
See, what was that? Did he
There you go. It failed. It failed.
Yeah, okay. So is that like a normal thing, or is he just missed normally?
I think he was locked onto the target. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought he was too.
I'm actually going for a replay right now, and it always locks on as long as you're in range.
Yes!
Nope, didn't work. I can't see a damn thing.
Something they glow, right?
It's the lighting, it's the camera angle. I just don't know what's going on. Is there a block? Like, can you block in the game?
I believe so.
Huh?
I mean, dual wielding warrior can he block? I'm not sure. The rogue can block for sure, or something. There was a ability.
Yeah, skill, but yeah, a talent you have to unlock.
But is it like a button that you hold and it just stays that way, or just you press it once like a time thing? I don't remember.
It depends on the class. The tank can block and you can hold the block, but it drains your stamina. But the rogue, you press it, I think, and it lasts for like a second. And if it doesn't, if he doesn't attack you in that second, it doesn't work. And there's a cooldown, so it's different for different classes.
Okay, well, at least they didn't cut that out, so that's something. I mean, I'm glad it's in there, even if you're a double-handed warrior, so that's kind of cool. Okay, two out of 5. Doing good. Just how overpowered mages are. They just sit back and just blow things away from a distance. You're like fighting and risking your life. They're like, yeah, whatever. Here's some ice powers. Here you go. Doesn't it kind of look like a deformed version of Corypheus? I mean, essentially the same model as the Wraith from Dragon Age Origins, but just bigger. Just take that, swap some palettes around, and call him Corey. Yeah, okay.
Well, actually, they removed the Desire Demon, didn't they, in Inquisition? Well, there's only one that you encounter.
Yeah, I heard about this. Like, what? Why would they bother? Like, what's like one of the most basic demons that you talk to? Like, why would you get rid of that? That's pretty straightforward. You want to talk to your demons. They're interesting. They're colorful. They paint the picture. This is a story about the hole in the sky where demons come out of, and they get rid of the more interesting character. I mean, why would you do that?
What's also funny is that in the it's the teaser trailer, the one where Morrigan's narrating. the behemoth actually comes out of the rift with the other 2 or 3 other types of demons. So originally that was a demon, not a guy that's hyped him on meth there.
That was with they finally showcased Morrigan's her outfit and of course her face. She looked a lot different. I think a lot of people were pissed off because she aged or she wasn't as attractive as she was in Origins or whatever. I was like, well, she is older. It's an older game. Obviously, it happens after Dragon Age 2, so it would make sense. But I guess they just didn't like how Frostbite handled it. I don't know. She looked fine in the game to me. I don't know the big hoopla about how attractive Morrigan should be. I mean, the actual art from Origins was a lot different than what we got in Origins of Morrigan. I remember she had a hood. She was a lot younger. And of course, with Claudia Black's acting, she definitely does not sound like a young woman. So,
True.
You had the Sacred Ashes trailer, which Morrigan looks very different there. She looks more witch-esque than she does in game.
That was done by another studio, though. I think they did everything.
Was probably Blur Studios, wasn't it? But they had to get their reference from BioWare, which was probably one of the concept arts that they had for Morrigan.
Oh yeah, she was really animated. Like her whole face was lighting up, and she was doing rolls and turning into spiders, and yeah, that was.
Yeah. Well, Liliana looked quite different as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She was like Xena, wasn't she?
Well, very similar to the previous trailer we just watched, where the knife is up to her throat. That reminded me very much of like how in Thor Ragnarok trailer, where we see Thor and he jumps off from the whatever castle and he lands on the Bifrost Bridge, and his eyes are fine. Whereas in the movie, obviously this is a spoiler to anyone who hasn't seen it, one of his eyes has been plucked out. So he has one bloody eye. It's the same thing they did with Leliana, so not to spoil anything of what happens in the future, how she looks and why. So, little technical thing. I totally approve that because you don't want to spoil two things, but you still want to show off things. It's a good way of doing it. But you still get lied to. So, one of them is okay.
I think that level just got repurposed because, like, I think the way of how they wanted the breach to be more eventful in the world itself. Basically, Corypheus and his little merry band of Venatori was never actually pictured within the early builds. And then they kind of went, oh, right, now we've changed gears. Now we have to add this. And so they repurposed that and just turned it into a time travel story. Pretty much, which is why Dorian's dialogue still thinks that he's like in a continuation rather than just a time travel one.
I just remember the two sub-bosses, if you chose mages or Templars, you got the Samson dude or you got the elven mage chick. And those two characters had more interesting backgrounds than Corypheus. Like they actually cared and they fought, and you could influence her attitude to Corypheus right near the end. I thought it was great. Like that to me was like, oh my god, they're doing a villain well, and it was like, oh my god, you could fight them and then you could actually kill them or imprison them or whatever. I was like, yes, thank you, game, you're doing it right. You got choices and influence going, and you could change their minds. Like, yes, more of that. It's like, no, we're only do that once. Sorry.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the game, the first chapter.
Oh, with Haven.
It's everyone's.
Yeah, from the beginning to where you defeat Corypheus at Haven, or survive Corypheus, if you will.
To me, that was like the
my favorite
first
section.
climax of the game, and the music really set the tone. It's like, wow, this is really like you're losing everything, and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that the stakes are now raised, but it took so long to freaking get there. It's like half the game's almost done, or maybe a third of the game's almost done.
Well, you're bopping around the hinterlands for like, what, 8 hours or something like that before you get to that stage?
Yeah, if you do everything, you
Yeah,
spend quite a lot of
me.
time.
It felt drawn out, and then you rebuild, but the rebuilding is like, oh no, we just got a better castle. It's like it was always there. We just never bothered to tell anyone. It's like, thanks, Solus.
Why
Really
didn't
helpful.
we go there before, you know? Thanks, Solus. You bald-headed git.
He's like this massive castle. No one could possibly attack us. It's like, just go there. Like now.
Up to this point, we've only controlled the Inquisitor with his two-handed sword. And, well, the characters that would join you in your party will use their abilities to the best of their advantage and try to take out the enemies as quickly as they can. Sometimes direct control, which is something we absolutely allow for every single party member, is what's needed to win the day. In this case, we'll switch to Cassandra, who will use a rock armor potion, which will cause her to toughen up. And with that extra protection, she'll be able to use her warhorn to taunt the behemoth, get its attention, and then leave it open and focus on her. This is perfect, as she can then use her armor breaking abilities to shatter its protective coating, make it vulnerable to the rest of the party's attacks, and then we'll switch back to the Inquisitor and finish it off using his two-handed.
It doesn't look like the taunting is working.
I can't tell. Yeah, it's kind of dark, and I don't know what she's screaming, or is she raising her? Is her shield rating getting higher? I can't tell.
Yeah, she's doing something, but the enemy keeps attacking somebody else.
It's like attacking its shins.
Yeah, I think we switched to the Inquisitor now. I don't know what was going on there. So
no, that should be Cassandra.
Yeah, this is Cassandra this whole time for the past like 10 seconds.
Really? I thought it was an Inquisitor. All right.
Yeah, just similar.
It's so hard to tell. It's too dark. I can't see a thing.
Oh, well, now we are being Inquisitor. Blinking heck, that was...
Yeah, I was right. I was right. Okay, I was like, what the hell? What are you guys talking about?
Look at that.
It's confusing.
It is. But look at this guy. He's like Link all of a sudden. He's spinning his sword like crazy. Oh my god, he's a top. The one thing you don't do in a sword fight, you spin like a top.
Combat, it's important to note a few key things. While certainly being over-leveled can help at bringing the right equipment, using your proper mix of spells, abilities, and of course teamwork can mitigate the damage you'll take. In every combat you can expect to take some damage. And while we can heal, we can absolutely bring out our healing potions to bear, and even use our alchemy system, which is the deepest we've ever explored in Dragon Age, to improve the number, the quantity, and the effectiveness of healing potions. Ultimately, the thing to note is that your health is not recovering after combat, and your potions.
And they never mentioned the limitation on healing potions you can carry, so we didn't figure that out till, I think, was it a week before the game, or when the game actually launched, that, you can only get 4 or 5, and then you have to upgrade.
8, and then it goes up to 12. But the problem is that what he's saying there is a bit of a fabrication, or a bit of an overstretch. Because what happens is that you fight a couple of monsters, and then you just transport back to your camp. You fight a couple of monsters, and you transport back to your camp to restock, and you just keep on doing that over and over and over again. There's no actual limitation of resources. You just keep on doing it. You just keep on replenishing. It's just not an official way to pad out the game, unfortunately.
Well, it's the same with Medigel in the first game. Like, you had to go back and replenish your Medigel capacity. It wasn't a big deal, but if, again, we're starting a story about creating an army, and you'd think resource management would be a thing, and you can just, nope, you just keep making them. Everyone just has them lying around. You just can't carry as much as you want. Like, oh, okay. That's all right, I guess. Let's just hunt for more elf fruit. We need lots of elf fruit for some reason.
That's used for the regeneration potions and the other things. So it's not used for your base potion. Well, except for upgrading them, I should say.
Galleria käytävällä. Siis Thomas 11 vuotta odottaa jopa isää Hallimestarin toimistossa Ylägalleria käytävällä.
Our goal with Inquisition is to challenge our players to think about the adventure. From the moment you leave the Inquisition's safe holdings until the moment you return, you have limited resources, and you need to make them count.
Okay, so limited resources, use your brain to strategize, Yeah, kinda, sorta, maybe, not really. I don't know. The crafting system was pretty. It wasn't great. It just wasn't anything special, and you couldn't craft like what was the armor for Armor of the Dead, like that really awesome for only for dwarves. You couldn't make it for elves. You couldn't make it for humans. You couldn't make it for Canary. Even though you have like a master smith and a master forge, you're like, oh yeah, I can make anything except what I need, or the best armor for what I want. It's like, no, you can't do that. Thanks. Oh my god, the ladders. So many freaking ladders.
At this point, we're going to jump ahead until after we've finished securing the key.
I think this is Mark Dara talking?
Yes.
Okay.
The gate's prepared. Those things don't get a second chance at it.
See, I like that. I don't know what the hell they were digging, but I'm glad they were looking. They were doing something. It's like you're digging a trench next to a wall. What the hell is going on there?
Oh, some lots of lovely around here. Right around here, Derek. it's the mud people from Monty Python.
It's like, I want a shrubbery next to this wall. It's like, why? What are you doing?
It's like some military command thing.
What military operation are you performing there, man?
It's those sappers. It's the sappers from Olay.
Oh yeah, they're gonna blow up the wall. Is that the thing?
Until after we've finished securing the key.
Yeah, the gate's prepared. Those things don't get a second chance at it.
I have no idea what they're doing.
Now we noticed earlier there were some trebuchets firing our key. Let's head over there and make sure that they've been secured.
We had time to prepare, thanks to the soldiers you sent back.
Looks like my men have things well in hand.
Looks like they're dead.
Well, yeah, they're in hand, though, because they can be carried by hands. See?
Well, I guess he's not technically lying. Lying.
They're laying.
Let's actually head up onto this ridge and take a look around.
This is some pretty, 60-degree climbing skills. Look at this guy go.
This guy's going to have an amazing odds
Now,
by the end
as
of
you can
this.
see, we're barely scratching the surface of this area. This area is vast, and we're just seeing a tiny, tiny part of it.
This is true. This is a big shot. This is exactly what we got. That's true.
Now, at this point, let's head back to Crestwood Village.
Heat
to
doesn't
assess-
exist, though, there, if I remember rightly. They swapped it around a lot.
Which?
So this land, where you see where the when you actually enter into Crestwood, the motor's on your right-hand side, and you got Crestwood Village to the front. The keep, that keep there doesn't actually exist. It's actually a bit further along, if I remember rightly.
I'm glad someone remembers, because I clearly do not.
Oh, I don't remember, to
This
be
land's
honest.
being yeah, this land's being changed.
I have a feeling they redid a lot of this just for the sake of getting rid of stuff, and because they removed stuff, they had to put something else in place. And they spent all this time putting this static village with subquests of like finding villagers' rings and whatever, just because they had to put subquests in that weren't as complicated as defending a fort or whatever.
Well, because you're a leader of an Inquisition, clearly that's above you. When you're in charge of an army.
Oh yeah, you're a leader of leaders, as Laidlaw said. It's like, I'm like, okay, who had other men? Iron Bull, yes.
Cassandra, technically.
Liliana, perhaps.
Yeah, but those are like your generals, not like your actual
Oh,
companions.
okay.
I'd say Cassandra, because she could technically have. potentially-
Sarah had the Red Jenny people. I don't know.
Did she? I thought she had no one.
Oh yeah, it was like
I think she was part of an organization or something, but we never saw anybody.
Oh well, I know that
I don't
Dorian
know.
was apparently in charge of some mages, but we never saw them. What's her name? Grand Enchanter. Uh, I don't know.
Vivian?
Vivian.
Oh no, I don't know. Maybe it's
The
well,
Blackwall as well.
well, yeah, but he's got recruits, but he never actually brought them over to the Inquisition. He was just like helping people out.
I know, but he could have done something.
He
with
could
those
have,
recruits.
but he actually didn't. It's like, no, we don't need recruits. Thanks, Blackwall. It's all right. It's
Cullen's got it sorted.
yeah.
he does.
He does everything. Just give it to Cullen's.
Like at the start of Inquisition, is like we don't have enough troops, men, resources, things like that, or training. And then like when you get to Skyhold, it's like, yeah, we've got everything now. This is great. It's like, what was?
Where did they come from?
And it was like just a huge armory of like people and like people waking up going, oh, all right, is it Inquisition time? All right, cheerio, pip pip.
Let's bring the horses up the mountain now and go through all the permafrost and make some cabbages. I don't know. What do you grow up there? Start a whole country up here. No one can touch us. Independent.
What's happened while we've been gone?
Oh, some elf fruit. Oh, there, camera guy. Where you go?
cameraman's drunk.
That's the tactical gameplay map. That
Oh,
right. Right there.
As you can see to the right here, there's actually a cave entrance. Caves riddle the areas in Dragon Age Inquisition. You'll be able to enter them without having a load screen. They're a seamless part of the play. Decisions in Dragon Age Inquisition have a consequence to the world.
And that was a big thing to say because we know in the Dragon Age 2 they just took the same bloody cave and gave you a slightly different entrance and exit, and that was about it.
It's like caves and underground areas have existed in games for years, and they've been seamless. There's like, congratulations, Bioware, you're up to 2002 standards. Well,
Yeah. Our outdoor level has a hole in it called a cave that you can load as you walk toward it. Like, yeah, we know.
dynamic loading. Here we go.
Thank you. That's good to know.
And to your gameplay. Decisions are tough and they have hard-hitting consequences. In many cases, decisions you make will have lasting implications throughout.
Do they?
Nope. Nope.
Didn't think so. I mean, I guess you could say the Grand Ball had a lot of choices to be made, but the effects were pretty much the same, weren't they?
Yeah, it's like either Gaspard or Celine goes on the throne, really isn't. It's like nothing in all that actually really changes.
Like, does it affect your game in any way?
No.
Like, I do know there's the whole opinion system where people will like you or dislike you, and I think some of them will leave if they dislike you, but I've never seen it happen.
No, actually, no companion can actually leave you in the Inquisition. It's not like Origins where you can kill them to that point, or they'll just leave you. Inquisition, you can literally punch Solus square in the jaw and tell him to get his big bald head out of here, and he'll still remain.
Jeez.
The game.
That there's nothing to be gained by going there now.
Come on.
Oh, there's the thank you, TLJ. We realize that crazy that was brought up in a previous gameplay video. My husband's ring was stolen from whomever. Please go find it. It's like, yeah, we know we're trying to save the world here, lady, but okay, if it's on the way, we'll go and do it. All for PowerPoints, right? Or was it influence points or PowerPoints? I can't remember which one you get.
PowerPoints.
PowerPoints.
Mm.
So you can unlock the Crucible or whatever the hell.
Well, you didn't even have the Crucible. It was
You
just,
can just go to the next area.
yeah, to unlock, you need PowerPoints to unlock the new area. What to unlock more areas to gain more PowerPoints. Clear. Welcome to Dragon Age Inquisition, folks.
It's a great system there. The plot points are literally a math equation. Just get as many as you can. Like, great. Thanks. Wonderful.
On, Seeker. Don't you want to see our handiwork?
And some cases, doors will close forever.
Nope. Lies. The only door that closes is the Mage or the Templar one, and that's it, really.
Yeah, that was the big choice in the game, wasn't it? That was
Maybe
it.
Celine or Gaspard, but that's about it.
Yeah,
as well.
but that's like some other foreign. Like even the setup for that was pretty silly. Like, what the hell are we doing determining the plot of a? I don't even know what the conspiracy was. They never actually clarified who did what and why and where and how until we got attacked by whomever, and you're like, oh, I think it was Gaspard. No, it's always the third party to come in, to Deus Ex the crap out of a scene. Oh, no, I got to resolve it because I have weapons. It's like, what? No, the Emperor is right there. She can say whatever the hell she wants and do whatever she wants. But no, we have to tell her. It was just one of the weaker versions of the game that people loved. And it's just like the ending to Mass Effect 2, the suicide mission. Yes, your choices had impact, but they were stupid. They were illogical. They didn't make too much sense. But hey, it's a selling point. You could actually say, yes, choices have consequences. Just, okay, whatever.
Celine could have just gone, well, this is all part of the grand game. It's like, there are assassins after you. And she's like, I know, there are always assassins after me. I'm the Empress, for crying out loud. That kind of...
Oh, today's Thursday. Okay, that's great. Yeah.
How many are there going to be sent to me today? That kind of thing. That would be funny. Like, she's well aware of what's going on.
Well, you'd think to be the person in charge would have kind of a lot of information coming through her way. So yeah, she'd be like, yeah, of course there's stuff going on. I could see it happening. I've heard of it. I saw it coming. This doesn't scare me. It's like, oh, all right. Yeah. Why am I here?
It's like how the government treats crises. It's like there's always another crisis, and they always roll their eyes at it. It's like, this is the threat that would wipe out humanity, and the government's just kind of going, all right, sure, buddy, and then nothing happens. And
all right, got another super chat. Speaking of PowerPoints, I'd spend 5+ hours doing meaningless side quests just to continue the main story, but by then I didn't care about the story. And that was the thing. You were like, oh, I have this massive world in Inquisition to explore, and you're like, why am I doing all these things? What's the point? PowerPoints, influence points. That's it. That's all you're doing. Just to unlock the next main plot point, unfortunately.
What is PowerPoints?
Oh God. What are EMS scores? What is any of this shit? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Because originally it was agents that they had. It wasn't power. Like, you had to send agents to unlock areas or like scout them out and do things like that, which can make sense as like a reconnaissance force.
Well, it would be cool if you had like men as a resource and you could only send out as many men as you could. It's like, okay, we needed like 10 men to unlock this area, but once you send them, it takes time. So you have to actually wait for them to do the job. And then while that's happening, another timed event can go on. Now, if the entire game was just timed, that'd be great. And it was planned like that. But because, we see this demo, it's like, oh yeah, there's going to be all these choices you can make within a certain time frame. That was what I thought we were getting. And unfortunately, chapter 1 is this, chapter 2 is that, and then they open up the war table, and then it's just all side missions for NPCs.
Timed side missions that go from 10 minutes to 72 bloody hours.
You could just turn your Xbox off or whatever, PlayStation off, and just turn the clock around. And, yeah, we're done.
Yeah, that's how you did it, because that was originally EA's attempt to try and monetize the game. But then I think they realized that people could just adjust the clock on their computer and just completely bypass it, so they had to remove it. Because honestly, waiting 72 hours, like, come on. It's like, people go, they weren't trying to monetize this. It's like, yeah, they were. It's right there. 72 hours to try and do a side quest on the wall map.
It's kind of blatant that people who don't want to spend all that time to get the super awesome sword would spend the money. I understand that idea, but this is literally a quest that is optional.
It's a single-player game. That's the most insulting thing about it. That they deliberately made that. It's same way was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where they deliberately made the game grindy so that you had to go and buy experience booster packs or something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, that is so true.
And
I hated that.
Was that also in? It was the other Lord of the Rings game, wasn't it? Shadow of Mordor, was it?
I haven't played that, but it's
I think I
possible.
did that as well. Yeah, it's basically like to unlock the quote unquote best ending in the game, you had to like either grind out for like 90 hours or something ridiculous, or you spent $30 or whatever it was to bypass a lot of the game, to bypass a lot of the grinding.
Yeah, but now Mike Laidlaw is at Ubisoft, so I mean, you're just gonna make sure that never happens again.
Apparently, Laidlaw quit because of the monetization practices that they were going to put in Dragon Age 4. So he's out of the frying pan and into the. Yeah, that was apparently. Don't take my word for it. Apparently, that was one of the reasons why he left.
Well, the official story was that he was time to move on. He wanted to do independent work and subcontracting, all that good stuff. It's like, all right, yeah, fine, whatever. I don't know. Who knows? Oof. Here's a cutscene that I don't think ever happens in the game.
No. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I thought this was like, where you close someone's eyelids when they die, but obviously you can't. I think he's just holding her face or someone's face.
Why does Varric care about Crestwood? What's his connection to it?
I wish we knew. I think he's just a nice guy. I think he just wants to help people. Or he knew someone like that. See, this to me, there's some connection. There is some actual personal thing he cares about, because he's a rogue. He actually doesn't really care about half the people in Kirkwall half the time. He's like, yeah, whatever. People trying to rob him and this and that. But maybe he's changed. Maybe he cares about random people in the middle of nowhere. We will never find out. Isn't this beautiful? This is a beautiful shot. There's Cassandra not chiding him on, just being nice, caring, sentimental. Just like, yeah, Cassandra's not a jerk half the time.
Yeah. Varric's like, oh, that guy owed me money. I'm never going to get that back.
Yeah, who knows?
Inhabited slaughtered. Crestwood Village is gone. The story has ended, and your game has changed forever.
No.
Damn it.
Lies. Mark Darrow, you lie. You lie.
I think this keeps going
the decision you made, and you have to live with the consequences.
As well.
Obviously, this is going to have a lasting impact on your relationship with Varric, as well as closing off this area to allow you access. Now, we've shown you how your decisions can have the consequence of closing down access to content. Now let's jump ahead to a later part of the game and show how actions can actually unlock new content.
As you explore the Dragon Age Inquisition, you will be visiting.
Okay, so here's Crestwood. I don't know if it was called Hills in the game. The Western Approach, I think there was actually a Western Approach. I don't... Or something, the Western Expanse, or I don't know, whatever it's called. Frostback Mountain? I think that's where Haven was.
Yes.
But I don't know what these Narashan marshes are, so who knows?
Narashan marshes could be where the Avar are?
Oh, that big desert level where there's all those crazy...
It's in Ferelden. It's the southern end of the border. It's where it's like
aren't they in the DLC?
Oh.
Or am I mistaken?
Well, you're more experienced at the DLC than I am, that's for sure, so I wouldn't...
Yeah, the Jaws of Hakon DLC.
Oh, really? Wasn't that a giant mine, like to the... in Ferelden?
That was the other one. That was the Descent. The Descent.
Jeez, I'm surprised you guys played that. But of course, I'm surprised UDP played that, but I definitely know xLetalis would probably have played that. So,
yeah, but it was like years ago. So
it's just the DLC is more interesting than the main game if you want to look at it in terms of a story. I mean, it's going to have problems. Don't get me wrong, but
that's pretty much what BioWare has done. They put all their interesting things in the DLC, like the Mass Effect 2's bridging DLC, Arrival, where it was the only story-based part that connected to Mass Effect 3. And this is Dragon Age Inquisition is entirely based on the DLC from Dragon Age 2. which again, Dragon Age 2 did nothing to further any major plot. It was just Hawk's dad did something bad or whatever. I'm like, okay, thanks. Let's make a whole other game based off that choice. Like, thank you. Another super chat. Thank you, TLJ. I have mods that complete the war table missions instantly. Oh, that's fun, I think. Massive damage increases so I don't spend time fighting. Oh, on PS4, really? All that's left is running around. That sounds really boring. I'm sorry. I don't know why you'd want to install that mod, but okay. Whatever gets you through the day.
A lot of the enemies are very chunky in terms of their health. Like you will literally be hacking at a Templar for like 10 minutes. Oh, no, let's say 10 minutes, a good couple of minutes.
That's true. Especially on higher difficulties.
And let's compare the getting around, as TLJ is mentioning, just wandering about. You do get a horse, but compare that horse to, let's say, Zelda, to The Witcher, to even Assassin's Creed. Like, it's not even the same speed. It's not even the same maneuverability. Skyrim, you have your horse vaulting up mountains. It's not fun to walk around too much in the game. Now, I do admit, walking about in Inquisition, like you saw in the demo, he was going through the marshes. He's really struggling. He was going up a mountain. He was, finding his footing. That's cool. That's nice. They add, certain environmental levels to walk up. That's good. That's attention to detail. But it's still a big freaking level. You're just spending an hour just navigating the thing like that. As I mentioned, the desert level, I think, as you said, Ferelden was, I don't even know if it was. It was huge. You know how to get from this plateau to that plateau, and you're just wandering about up freaking ladders half the time. And if that's what you want to do, then this is certainly the game for you. You're going to love adventuring. But for me, I was like, ugh, this is taking way too long to get from A to B.
I think in some areas in the Inquisition, they were just completely optional. That's what happened with Andromeda, where you had like 2 planets that were just completely optional. And the Inquisition, you had like 2 areas that were completely optional, like you didn't have to visit them or something like that, or you only visited
it's
them
true.
Like, very briefly. It's really bizarre. Like so they put all this time and effort into making these levels, and you don't even have to visit it. That's like, okay.
Well, that's the comment that he makes in the next video about dragons. It's like, we put so much effort into this. We really want to make it special and unique. And you're like, and they're completely optional. And you're like, what? Why would you do that? Like, what's the bonus? It's not like a challenge like in Final Fantasy VII to fight the emerald weapon or the ruby weapon. They're just massive, huge damage sponges. It's like, okay, there's a strategy involved. This is like, no. We plan AI. They have certain abilities. It's like you have to swap out and do healing. It's like, this is pretty involved. Like, I've played a few dragons in Inquisition, but like, you could have tied that into the main game, man. You could have done something with that.
What's really funny is that I actually glitched out the dragons during my playthrough, because if you stand it, because all mages have infinite range, and the dragon will just sit there taking all the damage. It will just stand there yelling at you. He's going, "Hey guys, quit it! Why are you hitting me with these fireballs?" And you're just going,
They're all heat seeking. They all just like zoom. They just chase after.
Even when it flies around, those things will keep going. And it's like, so yeah, it's really funny.
Oh, another super chat, man. DA2 massive cliffhanger ending. Mage Templar War. Yep. Next game. Solves it in 10 to 20 hours. Really, BioWare? You could have spent 2 games on that. I don't know what the point of Dragon Age 2 was in regards to conflict of the story. I thought it was going to be an issue and that it would come to a head with Inquisition, where you have mages and Templars. And yes, they were in the game. They were in the story. But then they personified that with Corypheus for no reason, and they invented another conflict. And you're like, why are we going outside of the realm of politics and dealing with people and their factions? Why do we now have this supernatural bad guy for the sake of having it? And every time we see Corypheus, aside from Haven, he has been completely ineffectual or a failure. And
yes,
it seems like why would you bother personifying a villain, an antagonist for that, and make him stupid and just useless? I don't know. I don't know why you would do that in a story, let alone a game. Like a game, you have to lose. You have to, come back and try again and try different strategy, which I thought a tactical game like Dragon Age series would have. Even Dragon Age 2 had some tactics. You had Thief, Hawk. You could jump back and go invisible and all these other things. Now it's like, as you said, the auto button. You just, okay, I'll just stand here. Oh, wait for my cooldown. Okay, I'll just stand here some more.
What's really funny about some of the preamble stuff, I think I was reading in one of the articles when they were trying to advertise Inquisition. It was saying about, what is the breach exactly and what's happening. And they started saying things like more and more, like, because mages are actually quite rare in the world of Thedas. But with the breach happening, loads of people just kind of like got magical abilities. And, mages themselves actually just became more powerful because it's like, access to the Fade and what have you. And it was kind of like, that's kind of a scary thing. And that would kind of give the idea of why the Templars would just kind of go wonko and just start killing everyone because it's just like, we can't control this anymore. But that never happened at all. That was actually completely dialed back in. What would have been interesting in terms of, it's like Psykers and Warhammer 40k. Like, Psykers just suddenly appearing out of nowhere. And then it's like, how do you deal with this? And that's where you, as the Inquisitor, could have actually come into that. Like, do you want to try and save people, reinstate the circles, or kill them all? It's like, what do you want to do?
I was about to say that when you play a mage, there is actually a specialization that's based around the Fade and the Rifts, I think. So perhaps they had an idea about it, but they gave up on it.
Ability that you get off of him, or
I don't remember, to be honest.
Or it could have been one of the trainers that you get when you're at Skyhold.
I think it's the trainers.
Right.
Well, it could have been as silly as one of the options in Dragon Age 2 where you play a blood mage, and there's like people hunting you down, and you're like, hi, I'm a blood mage. It's like, oh, well, you're okay because you're Hawk. It's like, what? Oh. So I guess the Mage Templar War doesn't apply to me because I'm the protagonist. It's like, okay, we're not going to care.
I like the one where Cassandra's like, you're the one that's leading us. You mean that because I'm the player character and you guys have to wait for me to change the event? That's the reason why you put me in charge.
Oh, there was that silly comment about, well, we already have a leader. It's the one who's been leading us already. It's like, you?
Yeah, because it's funny because Cassandra sets up the Inquisition. It's like, and we don't have a leader. It's like, well, why'd you set it up then if you're not going to lead?
You're the one with the book. You're the one who made the goddamn thing. Like, what are you talking about?
I was like, so you set this thing and you're like, so you can lead it? Oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. That's way above my pay scale.
Sun-scorched deserts, demon-infested bogs, and icy mountaintops.
Yeah, the Southern Desolation, is that? I don't think that's a thing. No.
No, the name is probably different.
Okay. Obviously, they wouldn't have thrown out an entire level, but they just changed the name, so I don't recall.
I don't know about that with BioWare. They have done that in the past.
Throw out entire levels and redo them?
Yeah. Dude, they threw out the entire vehicle section out of Mass Effect 2. It was fully functioning and working in the game, and they just chucked it out.
Oh.
I didn't know.
It was in one of the early interviews that they had about Mass Effect 2. What Greg Gruzaya or Mike Shashuk, I don't know how you pronounce his name. They were actually talking about it, like, yeah, we've improved the vehicle handling and all that kind of such. And it's like, nope. DLC. You got 4 missions with it. Good luck, buddies.
Another super chat. What do you think happened to the writing team post Mass Effect 1, Dragon Age 1? I've tried getting back into the newer games, and I'm just bored to death. It's like there's no hook to keep me engaged. Okay, well, that's hard to say because a lot of things with a lot of writing teams were sort of shared. So you could say, Drew wasn't as involved, and that's when the Old Republic came about, the MMO. With Dragon Age, that's a whole other, you're looking at, what was the wife and the husband duo? They were heavily involved.
Epler, yeah.
Right. Then there's the Weeks family. They were also involved. So, you're looking at a lot of people who've been there for a while. And it depends on how much control they had, because when you're talking about Mass Effect 2, you're no longer talking about Drew anymore. If you're talking about Dragon Age 2, Gator's now in charge. And you can't say that it was a horrible mess, but because they focused on dialogue so much. And I'm not saying dialogue isn't important, but you still have to get back to the plot somehow. And that always takes a second seat or a back seat to the gameplay or the game itself. So the game project would be dictated by the developers, and they say, okay, give us some story, give us some background, and give us some reason to do these things. And they have to fill in the blanks, and they have to do the best they can. So it depends. It really depends on how much creative freedom they were given, whether their ideas could fit with whatever the hell Dragon Age 2 is supposed to be about. And, if you duplicate levels, you can't really keep, this is a magical cave like the other cave we just went to. It's like you can't really tell a story of a special, unique place when they're all always the same thing. Plus, I think the dragons were optional too. I can't remember when you got your hero's armor or whatever. You fought that random dragon in Dragon Age 2 that they had to, go down to some pit of some mining pits. Oh, there's a dragon in the mining pit. Let's go fix it. Like, great. Another super chat. Okay, at least given Alistair's personality, he wouldn't be a good leader and admits it, so the warden has to step up. Yes, actually, that was explained in Origins. It's how Alistair did not want to be a leader. It was part of his backstory. He didn't want the limelight. Makes total sense. Morgan, as cocky as she was, didn't really like people, so she probably wouldn't be very good at it. Liliana was too... not really... Stabby? Yeah, Princess Stabby. Who else? Sten tried to take over, but then was like, no, we're not going to follow Sten.
Imagine if Shale took over.
Oh, Shale would have been brilliant. It's like, hi, I'm in charge of you meatbags.
Yeah, Wynn's like just a kind of more of a supportive character because she's done her time. She knows she's on her way out kind of thing.
And Zevran doesn't even want to be known he's there. It makes sense that our man would be in charge.
Actually, I think some of the characters actually comment about Alistair about, saying that why is the younger Grey Warden in charge over you, and he actually kind of explains it.
Yeah, Morgan does that.
Is that Loverin or?
Yes, I think so.
Well,
she talks about how Alistair is the senior one, but he lets us lead and decide everything. And she confronts Alistair about it. Yeah.
And she even talks to you personally about how you were more, not formidable, but like out of all the people she met in the wilds, like you were the most powerful looking or whatever. So she like respects you just because, I don't know, she could see that in you. Even if it's kind of hard to grasp, at least she had a reason for it. And it was an okay reason. And then she talks about Alistair. And so it's like, you didn't have to even do this in the story. But if it's done once, it's fine. If it's done by everyone or to a degree, it makes sense. And of course, there's only two of us in the story that are Grey Wardens. So everyone's joining us as a result of these magical letters that everyone just, you have the letter of writ that tells us to do this. We must do it.
What's funny is that people don't actually have to, like, if you try to force it, then they'll just ignore you, which is kind of cool. You actually have to prove yourself to them, which I know it's a bit of a side quest, bitch mission kind of thing. But like, if you go to the dwarves, they're just like, oh, great. It's like, listen, right, we're almost in the Civil War right here. I doubt you're going to be helping by doing this.
All of this ultimately is in pursuit of your larger goal, bringing order to a world descending into chaos.
Restore some order, whatever that means.
For the next part, we're going to go to the western approach. It's an area far, far to the west. And there, we're going to realize that the Inquisition's influence has...
Dragon Age Inquisition is the biggest game our studio's ever made. The game is created from large and distinct areas.
It's very different.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the video here because there's not much left, but there's a lot of things they talk about that aren't in the game, like the whole stronghold system, where you take over a place, you can make it to be a warrior base, you can make it to be a spy base, or whatever's a magical base. That was never there. There's just so many elements that did not get in, and they were like half there. Like half of them were already in the demo that we see here, and half of them never actually did anything. They would just never appeared. And of course, this wasn't shown in trailers, but this is this kind of stuff that makes us go, wow, I can't wait to play this game. I can't wait to see how this all gets put together. And because I was expecting an Inquisition, an actual Inquisition where you hunt people down and figure out who's who, who's the heretic, why, what are they trying to do, what's the plot. And instead it becomes a weird, the sky is falling. Oh, no, it's not anymore. Oh, there's a bad guy now. Oh, now he's gone. That's it. That's the story, essentially.
Yeah. I kind of wanted the door to be kicked in and be like, no one expects the Ferelden Inquisition.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that'd be great if they just had one moment like that. I'd be like, you know what, that'd be worth the purge.
In the Elysian Palace.
Yeah, just boot down the door.
Oh, boy. And we're all in red, of course. Yeah. All right, so we're coming to the third video. This is going to be hopefully not as long, but this is going to be in defense of John. Was John?
John Epler.
John Epler. Sorry. Here we go.
The new game director, right?
Hey guys.
The creative director? I don't know. He's definitely
some director.
Some director of the narrative, I think. I can't remember.
Jackdo here. To anyone watching this video having not seen my content before, this is certainly not my type of content. I actually kind of hate this type of content, and I do not intend on keeping up with the story in the future. Just a quick disclaimer. However, regarding Dragon Age 4's recent teaser, there's been a lot of talk surrounding the quote woke narrative that this game will entail. You see, people online have been misconstruing and scapegoating the narrative director of Dragon Age 4, John Epler, creating a false story around his vision for the next game's plot. Let me start by first saying most people who are promoting this message online clearly have no knowledge of the Dragon Age franchise and are just basing their BioWare experiences on Mass Effect Andromeda. And when I've seen
okay,
sure there, buddy. Well, sorry, what's that? That's a lovely straw man that you got there. You know,
all these people saying things. Just he clearly knows how they all think and their experience playing games. So must be the case.
Quote, content creators delving into the subject on videos, they have no knowledge of Dragon Age and its narrative as a whole. Some even think the next game's title is actually hashtag The Dreadwolf Rises, when in fact that was just created for the fan communities, clearly. But
well, it's a hashtag. We're not saying it's the subtitle. It might be the subtitle. We have no idea. We have nothing to go on. We have no. There's literally one. What was it? 20-second, 30-second clip of a statue.
Yeah. And it's just him saying something from Trespasser.
Yeah, it's the end of Trespass. It's like, oh, you found me again. I guess you have questions. It's like, why did you say that? Why? That's not a teaser. You just copied and pasted a sound clip. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, here's a question. Why did you give the ball to Corypheus? Oh, I was too weak. Then why didn't you wait? Boom!
Obviously, degenerates don't know that sort of news. I'm just...
Oh, don't bring that guy in. Come on. That's not nice. Leave that man.
Don't bring poor Todd.
He has enough problems. He's got a lot of problems. Dragon Age is not one of them, though.
Trying to create a picture in your head so you can get a sense of the type of people who are spreading this false message. In a pinch, they are just clickbaiting nugs who think they're...
Right. I haven't made a video about this, but I highly doubt...
He may actually be talking about me for this first 1 minute. I highly suspect that. Because in my video, I do talk quite a bit about Mass Effect Andromeda and how I'm worried that this might repeat the story of Andromeda. I also discussed for a brief moment that this, was it the Dreadwolf Rises? That whether or not this is going to be the subtitle. I do say it's not confirmed and so on, but judging by this 1 minute so far, he might actually be referring to my video. Just wanted to mention it.
Just so you know, xLetalis is one of the most mild-mannered YouTubers I've ever met. So
I am. It's true.
Yeah.
I don't even know what woke means.
I don't think anyone does. It's just a funny thing to say when you see a franchise go down the drain. And the writing's been on the wall for BioWare for a few years now.
Essentially, getting woke means putting your ideology above everything else. Like the ideology of what you hold comes before absolutely everything else. That means including making a great game, making a good story, so on and so on. Yeah, the ideology has to come first. That's kind of what getting woke means.
fighting this lost battle for freedom and expression, when in fact they've actually done nothing but the opposite. These
What? xLetalis, have you been squelching people's voices and their freedom of expression on YouTube? I don't know. It sounds kind of nefarious. You've been like deleting comments and reporting them. I don't know. It sounds kind of bad. Stop doing that, okay?
No, someone just deleted their own comment in the chat. That wasn't me, okay? That wasn't me. I don't have the power.
content creators love representation within video games, getting rid of the old and bringing in the new, yet they somehow hate it when BioWare decide to create new characters that showcase something particularly different regarding subculture or society that someone in one of those groups could relate to. It's
Well, when you actually have a lore of, let's say, big bull-headed guys, and then you say they're all very a certain way culturally, and then the next game they tell you, oh, no, we accept everyone, even people who think they're not male or female. It's like whatever they think they are. Yeah, we have a problem when lore gets redone. So we don't really care what is done. It's just you don't change what's already been established, and that's all. Really. It doesn't matter to me what politics or sexism or whatever. Just don't change what came before. That's all I ask.
kind of ironic, don't you think? In any case, for today, I just wanted to share my defense for John Epler as he's hit Twitter to share his responses regarding Dragon Age 4 having a quote woke and political narrative.
Okay, so he's admitting there's a woke narrative. Is that he just said that John went to Twitter to prove there is a woke narrative? Let's just rewind that. I don't know, what are you saying, buddy? You were just saying how he's not saying it is, now he's saying it is?
Defense for John Epler as he's hit Twitter to share his responses regarding Dragon Age 4 having a quote woke and political
just his response. Okay, my apologies.
Narrative. Allow me to first mention that again, he's a narrative director, he's not a writer. He may guide the narrative and give it some shape, but
then he's telling what the writers to write. If he's a director, he's like, don't write that, write it this way, or don't do it this way, do it that way. He has more power over all the writers as a whole, as opposed to one writer. He says what goes, essentially.
And incorporating politics into its narrative. A few folks telling me after seeing my Twitter profile not to bring my politics into the game. Dragon Age has always been about belonging and realizing that family is more than blood and about celebrating our diversity and differences. It will remain so.
Absolutely not.
Not really.
Not really. I mean, we could argue it's a companion-based story, so you have to get to know your companion. You don't have to, but I mean, I kind of agree, but not very strongly. It is.
It's like.
Did he say Dragon Age is about family? Has always been about family.
Folks telling me after
has always been about belonging, about realizing that family is more than blood, and about he's being a bit not facetious. He's being generic about saying your companions are your family. I think, and Dragon Age 2, that was definitely about. Well, the start was about your family, then you lose your family, and then your family is the city in a sense. So I see where he's going.
Lose your family.
Yeah, I see where he's going, but it's not always been about that.
That's a part of it. It's like Dragon Age Origins is about stopping the blight. It's a matter of how you stop the blight. That's what it's about.
Right.
It's just like, oh Lord. It's not the focus of it. Killing the big bad evil dragon thing that's going to consume the world is kind of the priority, mate. Yeah, we can't worry about little Timmy down the well.
My Twitter profile not to bring my politics into the game. Dragon Age has always been about belonging and realizing that family is more than blood and about celebrating our diversity and differences. It will remain so. Dragon Age is about hope, about how love and friendship are forces for good, and about how in the end what...
Okay, well, every sort of hero's journey is about hope, so he's not wrong. It's like, you could say Dragon Age is about defeating the bad guy because there's bad guys. It's like, yeah, that's true. There's also dragons. They're kind of relevant. There's one dragon that's really important, but other than that, it's not really about dragons.
We have is each other. Ultimately, though, all art is politics.
No, it's not. Art is art. Politics is politics. That's...
Oh, God.
kind of obvious. A does not equal B just because you say it is.
It's just a hell of a lot easier to ignore it when these politics match up with yours.
What does that even mean? Like, oh, because you like, I don't know, climate theories about how we're all going to burn and die, and because someone's talking about that in a video game, it doesn't bother you? Like, what is he? I don't
know.
I wear my heart and my beliefs on my sleeve, and I always will.
No one cares.
We have finite time on this world. I want to spend mine making it a better and caring place.
And you're going to Twitter to do that? You're in the wrong place, buddy.
Dragon Age 4 is going to make everyone absolutely aware about the political climate.
And he's going to make people's lives better through video games. Because politics is art, and art is politics.
And Michael Bay is going to make such a transformative movie.
With explosions and robots.
Yeah, brew explosions.
We bring people together by talking...
Explosions are art, guys. Don't quit it.
Explosions are politics, too, in case you weren't aware. If A is also B, B is also C, so I wonder how far we can take this analogy.
Saying all art is political does not mean that everything is analogous to specific real-world politics.
Then what the hell are you talking about? Okay, A is equal to B, except B1 and B2. It's, B3 is okay. Oh, super chat. Like Krem, if it was just Bull saying things, then fine. But Bull frames it as Canary society has progressed more than 8 years since then left, then in real society. And it was a retcon, plain and simple. And they just treat it as if it was nothing. And for some reason, they took the talents of Jennifer Hale, put her to Krem, just for that one character. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you take all this wonderful art assets and artistry and lore, throw it aside, make something new, and then put Jennifer in there? It's just like, why would you do that to us? It was like, I don't like when lore gets redone in general, and sometimes it works. Sometimes you can make lore better. Like say the new Star Trek movies or whatever. They want to reinvent Star Trek, so they redo it. You don't have to use the old universe, but you have to make it more believable. So when Enterprise came out, Enterprise was a precursor story to Star Trek, the original. So, okay, they want to make it more believable. They have more technology, but it can't be higher or greater than the technology they had in the old series, but it still has to be believable. So they have to use the same special effects that we have nowadays. That's how you do it. So it was a fine line to travel. And the continuity was fairly okay. It's like a precursor to Kirk. It's very hard to do. You can't really top the Shatner, but you can top the world Shatner was in. So that I could buy. But this, come on, it's a retcon, plain and simple, and it just changes the whole landscape of what the Canary actually were.
It means
Also,
the art you create.
Also, interesting fact, when you actually do the character creation mode in Inquisition, you can actually give yourself a male character the female hair. Like all the hair options are available to everyone, regardless. So there's no female or male options. It's just you can have like a guy with luxuriously shampooed hair. It's fantastic. And all the hair looks crap. And that's another thing as well. Everyone says that, Andromeda has like bad things. It's all, Bioware have always been crap at doing hair in animation, like especially facial animation, really.
The hair, when you compare it to like The Witcher 3, it just does not compare. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, just
it's like painted on. It's like Play-Doh.
It's plastic. Like Lego Man hair, just clunk.
Oh.
And how you create it are both shaped by the world you inhabit and your interactions with it, and it feeds back into that world, shaping it.
Okay, he's saying that you're influenced by your environment, and you influence your environment when you create art. You can influence the world by putting a statue in the environment, but that's going to be the people observing the statue. We're not talking about the environment itself. So he's being a bit too generic here. I know what he's trying to say, but it's nothing special. It's nothing new. It's a really silly thing to say. It's like you influence others as they influence you, and then you influence them. It's like, no shit. What are you talking about?
Acknowledging that means you can be aware of your own biases and experiences.
Not necessarily. Just because you create art doesn't mean you're aware of your art. It doesn't mean you're aware of what it means to you, to others, or the themes, or the biases, especially the biases. Because when you create art, you're being extremely egotistical, and you're focusing all your intelligence and your creativity into one thing, and that could be extremely biased, and you might not even know that. you can make a romance story that is so soppy and stupid and just ridiculously hilarious to read from a mature person who reads it. But to you, you're like, yeah, this is a great romance story. I talked about two people falling in love, and you're like, no, this is like for children. This is like for little kids who don't know what romance is, or don't know what life is like. You can do that, and you can be completely biased and be completely unaware of it.
And how they impact what you create. The only way to be apolitical is to not create anything.
What the hell does that even mean? The only way to be apolitical, if that's ever a goal, is to not create anything. So if I don't create anything, I'm an anarchist? Like what? I don't... If I create...
It's this cramming of politics. Like it's like everything has to have a political angle. This is what the problem is. By people are saying it's saying that every time they add something in, whatever it might be, it has to have a political slant to it. You know, whatever spectrum it may be from. And obviously, this guy's probably from the far left.
Sure, and I don't really care what spectrum. But if you look at Dragon Age, certainly there are politics in it, but it's not the biggest component. It's like, okay, first game, get a bunch of countries together or groups together. That is definitely political. One of the climaxes of the game is the
Landsmeet.
The Landsmeet, exactly. That was definitely a political scenario, but we're not talking about a specific type of politics. We're just talking about a bunch of people coming together. And
it's politics within the realm of the world that makes it suitable,
right?
Directly outfries.
He's trying to tie it in with reality. It's like, well, you can. Art can certainly do that, but we're not doing that in Dragon Age. I don't think there is a parallel between Dragon Age and whatever was going on at the time, 2012. Like what was going on? That a bunch of people escaping a war came to another city. Like what? No.
There have been some people jumping into my mentions with various levels of good faith, worried about what I meant by that statement. Every single person brings their own politics into their creations. I believe in the redemptive power of...
Not necessarily. As again, you don't have to create a story about politics or control or anything. It just be two people walking down the street talking about the birds and the bees. And that's... Well, I guess it could involve politics, but it doesn't have to. So no, it's not a component of a story.
Friendship and companionship, and that family is more than blood. If these are objectionable views, so be it, but they have always been a part of Dragon Age. To
again, not really.
Expand a little more, I've had people see my Dragon Age as all about power of friendship and that family is more than blood, as me missing the point of Dragon Age. But
yes, you are missing the point of Dragon Age.
Each Dragon Age has always been about these things at the core. Dragon Age Origins, your origin ended with you cut off from the family you knew.
I guess that's true.
If you play a city elf, your origin could end with you selling your cousin as a sex slave. So, I mean, I wouldn't put that in the theme of family very strongly, but...
Yeah, well, like in Origins, you can kill all your companions. It's like, that's the theme of family. Just kill all your family members.
My family is dead. I have left them because politics. And I'm also a serial murderer, but, politics is the real reason.
Wardens became your new home, and when Duncan, your adoptive father, was killed, it was about you pulling together to face
adoptive father. He just took you away because he needed a recruit, because he needed more recruits to stop the blood, and it was another way to save your life as well from whatever was coming on. Like if you were the city elf, like you've obviously done something wrong and the lords were going to basically chop your head off, or was it the Daily Shelf you got infected by the blight from one of the mirrors, if I remember rightly? Something like that. It was like the only way to actually save you. And then obviously you had the human noble, and then obviously you got the mage.
I remember now. Yeah, I think you're correct.
Yeah, it's the mage when you're going to get booted out, and Duncan's like, right, you can either kill this person, or actually, in fact, Duncan intervenes and is like, no, before you even kill this person, I'm going to do the right conscription. I'm going to take this person away from you before you can do anything, and then gives him the middle finger to Gregor and goes like that. It just buggers off.
Like allying with outcasts and other orphans. Ogren, Zevran, Alistair Morrigan.
Okay, because it's in quotes, I guess you could say whatever he wants. You could put dog in there for all I care.
Morrigan's an orphan. All right, she only had Flammer, her mother.
Alistair he was an adopted bastard. Zevran, I think, was an orphan, yes.
Yes.
Ogren, I don't even remember.
He has a family, but he was kind of divorced from it.
Yeah, they got estranged wife and what have you.
Yeah, that was it Bianca or Branca?
Branca.
Branca.
Yeah.
So Bianca's the other one, isn't it? Yeah.
To do it.
Yeah, it's the other dwarf's wife.
Yes, that's Varix. Yes, that's the one.
2, your siblings die immediately. You lose your other one at the end of Act 1 and your mother not long after.
Well, you lose them in the sense they're no longer with you. They could die, but they don't have to die. I think you could save their lives, so maybe he's just not being specific.
Your actual family is gone, but you've built a new one out of those you've met along the way. And that's how you survived, how you become the hero of Kirkwall.
See, I'm okay with that. That's fine. That's not completely true, but it's not inaccurate either. So it's like, 90% there. I'm like, that's fine. I'll go with it.
Dragon Age Inquisition begins with you under threat of execution, someone with nowhere to run to. But when you form the Inquisition, they become your...
Yeah, but you don't. Cassandra does. And you're a prisoner.
You're there.
And then you become in charge of it because...
What's really funny is that in the very beginning of Inquisition, Cassandra kind of goes, there will be a trial. I can promise you no more than that. There's not going to be a trial.
So yeah, we forgot about that because you're like Jesus to us now. It's like, oh.
What's really funny is that she's threatening you under Inquisition. Soul's like, oh yeah, by the way, that guy can close these things. It's like, I'm gonna bet you're gonna kill the guy. It's Cassandra. What are you doing? You daft. Stop.
She's restoring order. You're out of order.
Home, and you give her home to others. Iron Bull, who no longer knows where he belongs.
Does he not? He's been a mercenary all his adult life.
He knows very well where he belongs. In fact, he can betray you way forward in time in Trespasser. Yeah, if he doesn't like you that much. He joins the Vidasala or something, the name? I forget the female Canary leader.
Oh, yes.
He actually joins them.
Yeah, he said.
Yeah, so he knows very well where he belongs.
Blackwall, running from a dark past, among others.
See, Blackwall, as much as I liked him, he's pretty much irrelevant. But I guess I guess if you can romance him, I think he kind of likes you more, and he feels like he's more with the family. I don't know, maybe
that's more his path to redemption than it is about family, about him realizing his past, and not because he kind of takes on the fake persona, doesn't he, to the only guy who actually kind of believed in him, because he was like, him joining the Grey Wardens was essentially going to be like a new life, and he now has to face up to the fact of what he's done. So he does actually get a trial, so to speak, That has nothing to do with family.
Because no matter the threat you face, no matter what you're gearing up to go after, you're doing it with the family you've built, not the one you were born into.
So his original premise was that family is thicker than blood. I think he's just going along with that idea, even though he's just making up stories. He's pushing the narrative as far as he's like, yeah, Blackwall and yeah, Iron Bull. It's like, no.
Something is definitely thicker, all right.
So what's the problem here? I doubt people are going to his Twitter saying, we don't want Dragon Age to be about family. It's something else, right?
Well, the only thing I can think of is that they saw what happened with Mass Effect 3 and Andromeda. And for whatever reason, a designer got wind of Twitter and started talking about white people. And I'm not saying that influenced the narrative of those games, because I obviously can't make a correlation. And nor am I saying that this guy is going to have any influence, although he actually can, because he's the freaking narrative writer, director thing. But for whatever reason, these people influence the games and make the stories suck. And we don't know how or why, but it's a good indicator so far. I mean, it's not foolproof, and we don't know how it works. but this is what is happening to Bioware titles, and there's a very good chance Anthem's. Well, who the hell knows what Anthem's going to be, but very good chance that the next Dragon Age is going to have some really stupid elements that don't quite make a whole lot of sense anymore.
It's not even getting into the much more upfront and obvious politics. Elves, mages, dwarven castes, drug addiction, slavery. That's why it's really weird to me to see people react so aggressively to what I'm saying. So as a writer myself, I really do understand what he's hitting on. But first,
really, what the hell is he hitting on? He's just projecting as hard as he can and saying that Dragon Age is all this thing about politics. Yes, we know there's stuff in there that's political, but not in the way you think it is. It's like he's just influencing the work in the way that he thinks it is, and we're going, dude, stop, please stop. You're not paying attention to what Dragon Age is, and all the signs point to you not understanding it.
First things first, video games. Games always reflect the ideologies of their own developers to a certain extent, either political or otherwise nonsensical. It can be whatever. But
because Super Mario Brothers was really showcasing the Japanese imperialism of 1980s.
It's like, does Dragon Age Inquisition mean that it's okay that some of the writers are also complete psychopaths because you can pillage and do all sorts of I mean, in one playthrough, you can have a werewolf army and not give two hoots about the elves. In actual fact, you can slaughter the Dalish camp. What is that saying? Does that mean that Bioware has a kind of ethnic cleansing scale department? You know?
I guess so.
Yeah, that's an Ebbington, right?
But he's a writer, so he understands where he's coming from, so that's always good.
As John said, to not create art or politics, all you've simply done is created nothing.
Kind of like my video.
What does that even mean? Because you haven't created anything, you haven't made any. It's like, what?
That's a bit like saying you have to be a chef in order to be a food critic. Pretty much, it's like, you don't understand game design, therefore you can't be a critic. It's like, yeah, when someone hands me a big pile of crap, I'm not going to kind of go, well, I'm not a chef, what do I know?
It just tastes like crap. It could be good. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not a car manufacturer, but I think cars have wheels. No, how do you know? You're not an engineer, are you now? Well, let me spend 10 grand on this new car with no wheels.
Of like the videos which are calling out John. Game developers are people, not lifeless machines. They have lives, they have morals, they have opinions, etc. So of course, their own life experiences and principles are going to imprint into their own work. This just goes with being a creator of something. It's exactly the same with me. The content I feed you is governed by my own preferences and opinions. You definitely don't have to agree with everything I say, and I of course encourage discussion. However, my content will always be influenced by my own lifestyle, because that's the case with creating anything.
What the hell is he talking about? People are individuals. Okay, yeah.
People have opinions. End of story.
Thank you, Sherlock. I'm glad we got that point across.
Elkia Poirot is on the case.
Ooh.
That cannot be created without having some influence from its creator. And to talk about politics, the plot of Dragon Age has always surrounded politics. You have so many different agendas of politics: racism, segregation, religion.
So what? That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the existing politics of today being thrown into the game as they were with Dragon Age Inquisition. Even though it wasn't a major plot point, even though it was not a major part of the game, it was thrown in there to change the lore of a pre-established culture for whatever reason. And I still don't know the reason. I don't know what it added to the game. I don't know why assets were like, again, Jennifer Hale. Why would you take one of your stars and just throw her into that? Yeah, let's redo the Canary. With what? Yeah. A girl who thinks he's a guy. Okay. Why?
It's like, once again, going back to Origins, it's like there was racism. There was things like that. Because if you played as an elf, people went, "Oi, elf, what are you doing here?" kind of thing. But through Inquisition, no one's like racist towards you. No one's like, "Oi, elf, what the hell are you? How dare you be considered to be the Herald of Andraste?" or anything like that.
it was pretty nasty in Dragon Age Origins. That elf origin, the city elf, was really like getting raped and
disturbing.
And ruining a wedding is like, Jesus, this is really dark. And Inquisition was like, yeah, Solus, and he likes the elves, and he likes...
Akinari can be the herald and justice. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool, fine. It's like, wouldn't this be like a what?
Black Jesus with horns? What?
Yeah.
Sexuality, slavery, which is going to be huge in Dragon Age. You look at the race of the elves, and they're based on the Native Americans.
They are?
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know much about Native Americans, but
I mean, you have to ask the creators, but I don't think why that's important. Like, who cares what they're based off?
They're a subjugated race. That's all. That happens in many forms of fiction. That's nothing new. Just because bad things happen to the Native American Indians doesn't mean that every single guy or every single race that's going to be slavery is going to be like, oh, it's like the Native American Indians. It's like, no.
Only in the next game is going to be the elves are fighting back, because now it's going to be elves versus everyone else, because that's what Solus wants. I think he's a Puritan, so he has to destroy the world of everyone so the elves can, I don't know, dominate.
But there's more than one slavery around the world. I mean, hell, like most of Eastern Europeans were actually enslaved by other Europeans. That's where the term Slavic comes from, slave. It's like
true. Yeah,
it doesn't matter who it is. It's just slavery's kind of wrong in general. Just because. Sorry, it's just that really grinds me elements that does about people who don't know anything about history or other effects within history. People enslave people. They do it all the time. Still happens today. Jesus.
Creating this enraptured story that some people can relate to. The dwarven
I can totally relate to slavery, guys. Totally.
caste system. You've even got classes like in Tevinter. It's all about if you're a Soparati or if you're a part of the actual Magisterium. It's got this entire different system. It's going to have an incredible gameplay effect.
Not necessarily. He's speculating again. But yeah, there are cultures that have been established, and we're scared that those cultures can be retroactively changed for whatever political reason. On a whim, creatively, whatever. And again, you either have lore that's solid and people like, or you don't.
All BioWare is simply doing is creating a relatable real world that is so deep and darkly crafted because it's actually based on real aspects, real dark aspects of this world.
Not necessarily. It's fantasy. You can do whatever the hell you want. Obviously, you're going to be influenced by whatever you create, but we already have these worlds. They have 3 games already. They have all these books. There's lots of lore to pull from. So that's not the problem here. We're not concerned about them creating a new bisexual, biracial, super whatever woke culture of elf dwarven people. Like, we don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, go ahead, go crazy. It's if it interferes with what's already been established. And whether or not this is a joke, we can take it seriously, or if it's even believable that such a race would occur. Like, imagine the 12, whatever, was there, like 9 or 10 elven gods come back, and they're like, I don't know, like senators from Krypton level. They're so powerful, and they, they're bisexual and everything else. It's like, okay, does that make any sense? Maybe, maybe not. If it doesn't make any sense, it's a bad idea. If it's explained well that this is how life was like all those years ago, fantastic. I'm all for it. Just tell me a good story that makes sense, and we're good to go.
Makes it more morally ambiguous. The Witcher does the exact same thing, delving into many different agendas, like sexuality, like religion, like racism, and it creates morally skewed narratives that we all love to delve into. Politics in Dragon Age Origins is its main intrigue. The blight in the...
Okay, first off, Witcher writing is very different than Dragon Age writing, and for delving into politics, I mean, it's, again, we delve into it, but it's not the focus. It's the means to an end. It just happens to be one of our ways of solving a problem. And people coming together to solve a serious problem like war is kind of natural that politics will get involved. The powers that be are usually in control of people. So that's it. That there's nothing specific to a political ideology, nothing specific to a certain political way of living. It's just part of the story, like how there's magic in the world.
It's like
Demon, take a
so it's like in Origins, like you could actually lose the lands meet and then you're actually forced to do trial by combat. You know, it's like it's not much politics in there because you can fail at the politics if politics don't interest you.
Right. I think it always goes to trial by combat anyway.
Yeah, it's just Logain basically says, you know, if like, you kind of go middle of the road, then obviously there's no way to dispute it. But if Logain loses, then he'll pull the right out and kind of go, I want to fight you or fight one of your companions for this right to do so.
Sidestep when you enter that lands meet and you have the whole rivaling nobility. It's incredible. It's
okay. I admit I did like the lands meet. It wasn't as great the second time through as I did in my plot analysis. It was like, ooh, this is kind of messed up. But again, it's always been there. Not a big deal.
full on Knights of the Round Table politics.
What does that even mean? Knights of the Round Table politics? Is that like there's 12 people on a table and they all have their own individual mission? And they want to be involved in the kingdom, and they're like, I'm going to be a knight errant, and I'm going to travel the countryside. See you guys in 5 years. It's like, wait, no, don't go. I don't understand. Well, he's just obviously saying something that doesn't make sense to me, but that's just me. It's just my opinion, guys.
And I'll talk about that later on, but it's based on the books of A Song of Ice and Fire. Dragon.
Really? Was J.J. or J.R. Martin influence the writers of Dragon Age? Maybe they did. I mean, it's not relevant, but I'd like to see the influence.
There's probably like a lot of influence. There's probably a lot of books that they've read, and because like Dragon Age is literally a mishmash of a lot of fantasies together.
Oh god, Dragon Age is the most generic fantasy stories I've ever seen. Like it was sort of made specific with the Blight and how magic is, prevalent, but it's looked down upon in a sense, unless you go to obviously other parts of the world. But it's always been the most generic dark fantasy series I've ever seen. They have everything under the sun: vampires, zombies, elks, elves, dwarves, dragons, everything. There's no fingerprint. There's no like this is distinctly Dragon Age, except for the Wardens. And when we got to Dragon Age 2, the Wardens were just a cameo, and then Dragon Age 3, it's like, oh, we're fighting Wardens because they're an army force, and we're an army. And then we're fighting Templars. Now we're fighting Red Templar, and it's like, oh, like it's become a mishmash. And that's not what Dragon Age Origins was. Origins was specific. It was laser focused and say, we got to do this. Dragon Age 2 is like Hawk's public couch trip. It's like, okay, we're going to go to the city and have a party, and then let's skip a few years, and we're going to go shopping. We're going to go find our fortune, and then we're skipping a few years. It's, oh, bunch of crazy people want to kill us all. Let's stop that. That was it. Like, it's silly. Now, Inquisition was like, ooh, we're an army for a purpose that is never clearly defined aside from stopping the bad guy and restoring Oda, whatever that ever meant. and then you close the breach within the first chapter, and you're like, okay, what are we doing now?
Yeah. All the promotional shows about the breach is a big thing. 12 hours later, yeah, guys, okay, we've solved it. And the game just kind of goes, Corypheus! Like, as if like BioWare's rummaging through their big list of bad guys, and they're going, which one do we use? Come on.
Oh yeah, we had a DLC. We forgot about that DLC.
Corey, we'll paint him red. Is Corey the crackhead in his merry band of Venatori? There's your next bad guy for the next 36 hours of the game.
There we go. That's how you tell a story.
Dragon Age's influence does not steer too far from traditional fantasy and medieval roots. It's the exact same politics as iconic franchises. All John is doing...
I don't think I would ever say the politics of one franchise are the same as another by virtue of them just being different stories. That's kind of weird. Like, I would never say what happens in King's Landing is the same thing that happens at Lothering or Ferelden or wherever. it's hard to compare.
Is explaining how he aims to take Dragon Age into deeper, richer storytelling.
Not necessarily, especially when you're talking about whatever the crap he's talking about.
And it annoys me because, as John mentioned, Dragon Age has always been about these given things. If you can't see that, then you clearly haven't played it for long enough.
Okay, this is where we say exactly the same thing to him that he's saying to us. It's like, what game did you play? Because it's like saying dragons are a huge part of Dragon Age. Well, not really. There is one dragon that's very important, and then the rest are optional. Yeah, I hate saying that. It's like, yeah, we paid attention. There's lots and it's a mishmash. It's a smorgasbord. There's all kinds of fantasy elements, and politics just happens to be part of that. It's not the focus.
Bewildering, incredibly grey topics out surrounding the story of Dragon Age. That was David Gator's frontier for forwarding the narrative.
No, I don't know what that even means. David Gator's frontier for pushing the narrative were gray areas? What gray areas were those? Was maybe poisoning the Urn of Sacred Ashes? Is that gray? Seems pretty straightforward to me. You're pretty evil. It's not sort of evil. You're evil at that point.
Yeah, you actually, if Liliana's with you, then you kill her over it because she's quite on the religious end of the spectrum.
Yeah, there's no like what's gray. I'm trying to think of.
Ashes are gray, I guess.
It's pretty.
The wardens are gray.
Yeah, they're gray. Oh, think. No, I can't. I really can't. Is there that much depth to your choices? I mean, with Hawk, it's like you're bad, you're nice, or you're a goofball. That's the gray, being a purple dude. So
purple is gray. Purple is the new gray.
You know how much better Inquisition would have been if you just had all purple options and just flavors of purple? It's like, this is a joke, I know, but I'm the king, baby. Let's do this. What are you doing? You're in charge of a religious order. It's like, no, I'm not. That's what I say on weekends.
You'll be saying things like, "Buy and trust his tits," and watch all like the nuns just like fall over, like fainting. Ah.
The entire concept of the world of Dragon Age is the idea of, if demons did exist, what it would be like to bargain your soul to them in order to get something in return. That's
not really a major theme or element in the story. It happens. Where does that happen in Dragon Age?
It doesn't really happen anywhere, I think. He said bargain your soul to get what? Exactly. I mean, once they possess you, you're gone. So
yeah, the only time is when you confront. There's two times I can see. There's the Mage Tower where you can either kill the Grand Enchant or you can kill whoever what's his face, or you can take his power. You can take the Reaver people that are near Andraste, and then you've also got the bit where you have to confront the demon in the Fade. But this only happens if you're a mage, obviously. But then you can basically end up just banging the Desire Demon and sacrificing Karna and letting Karna be submitted to the Desire Demon.
Yeah, but it's not really a main conflict in the story. It's just like, someone else is being like the Desire Demon is controlling this dude, and you could free him or not. It's like,
yeah, it's a part. It's just another thing that happens along the way. It's once again, it's just how do you want to stop the blight? Do you want to gain power by sacrificing these people? Because that's your objective as the Grey Warden. It doesn't matter how you do it. It's just you do it. That's the whole purpose of the Grey Warden. That's why they're grey. You know, it's like this is kind of lost on a lot of people. Yeah, you know.
That's the deep, dark concept of these games. Nowhere has John mentioned that he's going to make Dragon Age into a social justice or consuming agenda. No, he's actually wrote these words on Twitter to elaborate and to destroy that rash thinking idea.
Then why did he do the exact opposite in his words? He's wearing his heart on his sleeve. Do you think he doesn't wear it when he works? If he's saying this is who I am, And then he just gave us this speech about everything influences what you do and your environment and yada yada. It's like, and then this guy just says about, of course you're going to be the kind of person and create the kind of content based on what you like. And it's like, no, you are now disagreeing with yourself, sir. You're contradicting yourself.
Politics is art and art is politics. When it isn't.
That's pretty clear. Oh, this guy's a writer. He reads and pays attention.
I may have
crayons.
With crayons. Crayola. I listen to Crayola all the time.
Dragon Age coloring book.
Yeah, the ones that you can draw that it doesn't have ink, it just sort of lights up, or you need a special coloring book to paint so it doesn't get
it's like a watercoloring book.
Yeah, my niece has one that's really cool. She doesn't make a mess. It's awesome. You can go crazy.
Few leftist views. That's not exactly going to make Tevinter into Donald Trump land, declaring that they build a wall to keep out all the elves. If anything, with those...
You know what? But I wouldn't be surprised.
What's really funny is that Tevinter is the only thing that's actually keeping the Canary out of the bay. You know, so technically they have probably built a big wall, but it's to keep out the big, 8-foot tall purple giants from stomping over everyone.
Oh boy! And of course he had to superimpose, or whoever used the meme to take Corey's likeness and put Trump there. It's like, oh,
that's political.
Oh yeah.
Is that art?
Obviously.
Views actually in mind, it would allow him to create an incredible story that could be about an end to slavery within the Imperium. But again, no one expects him to actually bring those views across. And of course, not like that.
Oh, it's this scene, this hilarious scene. Oh my god.
Restoring order via kicks.
I bang thee out the window.
Just, you know what? If that was an option, all the dialogue options was just to Sparta kick people, I'd be like, game 10 out of 10. Brilliant. Game of the year. Oh, yes.
Shepard, do your move. What move? You know the move where you throw a guy out a window. Oh, yeah, I know that move. You don't have the renegade trigger. You have like the kick trigger. It's just always like, yeah, I'm going to throw you off a goddamn building. It doesn't matter what the political agenda is. Doesn't matter the mission. Yeah, it's about time I got to go and you got to go. So bam, he just flies off a building. The things we learn from one BioWare game to the next. It's parallels. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Deliberately, because that's not true to Dragon Age. And on top of politics, diversity has been an incredible thing for BioWare. It's been there.
Oh yeah, it's an incredible thing that they put diversity in their game. Like, what is he talking about?
It's like, of course, there's diversity. The characters are diverse in their opinions and how they react to you. It's like, what does that even mean?
It's a great thing for BioWare.
Yeah, choices, they're great. That's what makes BioWare BioWare. They have lots of choices and consequences.
I guess. I mean, that's the safest way to look at it. And
yeah. No.
You don't want to talk about Sarkeesian going there to visit and no one liking that. So I don't know. We'll find out.
Since the very start of their writing, and they've always...
Yep, very start of the writing. Diversity. Thanks. That makes perfect sense.
Evolved on it, and they continually do so. It allows everyone to feel accepted in their games. Everyone
is accepted, even the blind, deaf, and I don't know, cybernetic people who don't identify with any gender or sex.
The Inquisition is going to be the handy-abled protagonist in Dragon Age 4.
He can move.
He's going to have a fade arm.
With his mind and his magic and elven, dwarven blood going through his... He's like, he can do anything. He's everyone. He's part dragon kind. He's he, him, her, zer, whatever. He's just all kinds. So many... He's completely inclusive. It just includes everyone. Just everything. Elf roots. Doesn't have to pick elf roots. He just picks himself.
not just certain types of people. Now, I do agree when agendas are influencing a video game, then it is an issue. And look,
Oh, now it's an issue.
Oh.
And here's the ghost of Sarkeesian.
look at any Isaki.
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny. Because there's like hundreds of games with female protagonists, but even in games where you can choose to be female, she doesn't like, apparently. Because there's a choice to be female. Which is very strange. I thought people would have loved the Mass Effect franchise because you can choose and make them look like anything you like and romance whomever you want to a degree. But nope. The hardcore feminists don't like it.
Romance anyone who you want. Tally. But yeah, they got all these options. Tally. Just ignore her. Tally.
We like our what background is the actress? I think she was...
Who, Tali?
Yeah, I can't remember what her background is.
She's probably Indian or something. I'm not sure though.
Middle Eastern, maybe? I wasn't sure.
Or Middle Eastern, yeah.
She had a certain accent, so it was like, yeah.
I don't know, she might have actually put on the accent because there was an Emmy-free like Meet the Voice Cast, and apparently she has like a North American accent.
She was in the Mass Effect 2, that stupid, I made a joke of, the Marketing of Errors vid she was in. And, yeah, it was, it's fine voice actress. She looked a bit Middle Eastern, I think. But people are calling her Gypsy, potentially Russian, but again, could be Slavic, could be anything. But, yeah, hey, people like Tali, people don't. Who knows? Their taste.
Easier, and I see what she talks about, and I try to avoid those types of games. But that's non-existent in Dragon Age. BioWare...
Yeah, it's totally non-existent. Yeah, the issues of sexism and racism and other things that people might like on the left, yep, not even factors. You're not going to have a problem. There's nothing like that in Dragon Age, even though you just spent about 2 minutes talking about how those elements are already in the game. But fine.
Share a love for creating relatable and diverse characters, breaking away from general stereotypes. For example, as a faithful person, RIL, I found it very fascinating that I could actually fulfill...
Did you say a faithful or fateful?
That'd be faithful.
Is he religious? I think he's trying to say he's religious. That's fine.
That sort of narrative for my Inquisitor through the dialogue templates. Dragon Age Inquisition felt like the only game that allowed me to fully express that in a video game. And this is exactly the same case for everyone else acting out their own representations within BioWare games.
I don't know. I don't really identify as a Geth. I mean, I wanted to play as one, but I couldn't really identify as a Turian. Would have been nice to play as one. But yeah, we can't do that. Sorry. It's not a board game. It's not D&D, so no.
Choice to be whoever you want is iconic to BioWare storytelling. No matter who you are in the real world, when you escape to Phaedus, you're able to create and live in a character of your supreme choosing. And
not really. It's pretty limited. I mean, yeah, you could choose a Qunari and this or that, but they all have the same personality. The choices are all the same. You had 2 different voice actors?
Yes, 2 for each gender. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't that they never really changed. Like you know how in Dragon Age 2, the auto dialogue, the actual auto dialogue, not the joke Mass Effect 3 auto dialogue, where the Hawk would just, if you were choosing more red or blue or purple choices, that would pop up. So his personality came by as a standard choice. That was noticeable. Yeah. So that is what I would say the choice, the characterize, how you characterize your character based on your dialogue choices determined in the next chapter how you would behave. That is true. And that's one of the good things about the game, if you like that sort of thing. But that never happens in Dragon Age Inquisition. And you don't have that much diversity in your choices anyway. So yes, there are the cultural choices based off your race that you can make you could talk in Elven to when the Elven prompt pops up. But that's it. I can't really, like Qunari has the option, I think.
I think there's some bits where the Qunari doesn't actually understand the Qunari language, which is pretty funny. I think that's in Trespasser.
I mean, it is an element, but it's not a major element. It's not like this all-encompassing thing that we were hoping to get. Like, that's what we wanted with Andromeda. We wanted to play as a Turian and be whatever a Turian does, or do whatever a Turian does. That would have been interesting. It would have been very interesting to see how military-minded people got about, as opposed to generic 20-year-old human male female person who
So he's smiling.
is creeping the hell out of people with this smile.
My father's dead. But you don't look too broken up about that one. Jesus.
I'm his replacement. Oh.
I'm a clone. Does this Mass Effect become human?
Oh. Dear, don't. That's ooh. Now you're getting meta there. Mr. Lynch, please help us. Help BioWare. What do we do? Clearly, you need more keyboard controls with your joystick, so you could get more interaction between the screen and your players. Ooh. How to open a door? Well, you need 4 points of contact with the keyboard, and then you move it around, and you wait 2 seconds for the prompt to. Oh God, David Lynch, what have you done? Gaming will never be the same.
Best of their ability. If John seeks to do more of this in the next game, then go forth and let him do it. The core political strife in Dragon Age is based on Game of Thrones politics. The books A Song of Ice and Fire. There are iconic references to BioWare within their creation of Dragon Age, as well.
Where?
What is he talking about?
Like, where are the direct references from Song of Ice and Fire in Dragon Age? Like, I've not read the book, so I can't really comment on that. But I'd love to. It's like he just lays this out without giving any evidence of, like, in this book and here and whatnot, this relates into this scene in Dragon Age or whatever. It's like, it's just a, like, I say it, therefore it's true kind of thing. I believe that Dragon Age is made by peaches and lemons.
Oh, do you have anything to back that up?
I have these peaches and lemons and a note from my mother.
Oh, okay.
She said, I'm a good boy and I've done nothing wrong.
I don't know where he's getting this. I wish I could. Can anyone possibly answer this question? What he's talking about? Because comparing Martin to Gator is like, what? It's so big. One is generic everything fantasy, and the other one is like very specific low end magic. Epic. It's just like, how do you maybe Conan and Martin, like the Conan series and Song of Ice and Fire series, because magic is very low key. And there's lots of warring tribes, and I can see that. But Dragon Age?
It's got dragons in it.
Oh yeah, that's it.
And you get to command a dragon, and Daenerys gets free. Yeah.
Okay, we're hurting ourselves just thinking about this. Let's keep going.
As Lord of the Rings. That's true RPG medieval fantasy roots right there. There are no social justice methods.
What is now it's J.R.R. Tolkien. We went from Martin to Tolkien.
As we move alphabetically through the fantasy, right?
It's okay. We've hit the grandfather of fantasy. We got him. Okay. Therefore, it's true fantasy because Tolkien. Oh my God. What is he talking about?
Elves. Tolkien. There you go.
Well, they're actually, I could see it with Tolkien more just because there's more magic.
Oh.
And dwarves.
Actually, in
and elves.
Tolkien's world, there's a lot less magic. Like, the only people who can wield magic is the Witch King of Angmar, the wizards, and maybe a few other people like, Cerebral and,
right.
only high-level people. It's not like everyone has access to it.
But compared to Martin, there's way more, like, similarities. But even then, to say you're inspired by Tolkien is like saying I want to write fantasy. It's like, no crap. Tolkien inspired everyone who wanted to write fantasy. So it's kind of it's just so generic. Like, what are you talking about?
Messages or agendas for any of that. Give me one example in Dragon Age where there's been a secret, politically, social justice corresponding message.
Okay, Inquisition, where there's clearly Krem.
Andromeda, no bigots allowed.
Yeah, then there's Sarah, who just wants to
yeah.
kill all the rich people because they're rich, and she's freaking crazy. Let's see, there's the whole what's Dorian do? He doesn't. He wants to be gay. They won't let him, so he escapes. And it's a whole family thing. How many other slavery? The elves in Origins and how they're mistreated. The alien age, like that's pretty. Like, is he arguing against? Like, what is he actually saying here?
Yeah, what was the question?
Justice messages or agendas throughout any and the creation of Dragon Age, as well as Lord of the Rings. That's true RPG medieval fantasy roots right there. There are no social justice messages or agendas throughout any of that. Give me one example in Dragon Age where there's been a secret, politically, social justice corresponding message. All I see is the deep, rich lore that the writers have thoroughly crafted, and I honestly can't wait to see where the next...
I think I can think of one. It's with Krem and Iron Bull. That scene where you truly realize what Krem actually is. The Inquisitor says, "Wait, Krem, so you're," and that's all you say. Iron Bull interrupts you and says, "He's a real man," or something like that. I believe there's such a scene, and I think that scene is exactly the answer to the question he's asking.
Yeah, Krem is the most obvious, but I'm trying to think of what other elements. And again, it's not a big deal. But the fact that everyone's bisexual is a little strange to me. And not everyone, but most of them are.
Yeah, was it in Andromeda? You had the transsexual who basically, transition, sorry, who basically was like, I want to go to this new galaxy. That's why I became a woman. He's like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. That's the same thing, though. It's like it's one aspect, but it's not a major. And I wouldn't say there was a lot of scenes either.
Yeah, it's not heavily influenced.
What I meant by that example with Krem and Iron Bull is that Bull is sort of feeding you the words in your mouth, kind of telling you what to think in a way. That's what I'm trying to suggest, I think.
Yeah, it's just that because they shoehorned her in there, it just feels blatant, even though it's not a big deal.
Like,
sure.
That's what it is. It's just token-esque. Like,
exactly.
We've got a transsexual, and it's just that kind of low-level thing. If you want to make a thing about it, like, go for it, as long as you do it right. There's no problem with it.
Journey may lead. So what if there's going to be politics? Thedas is a politically driven world. Have you not heard of the Tevinter Imperium? I am so desperate to see this place.
Now he's equating the in-game politics to real-world politics, which is not the same. So,
by design, living and breathing in that world, it's a land built on the fabrics of a governmental system run by mages. Heck yes to more of that. I don't see any hidden woke messages within that, but hey, I guess I'm just a silly Bioware fanboy who's far too excited to attempt to redeem Solas in the next game. In any case,
well, the Tevinter is kind of like the old school, so if they don't like gays and what have you, then it's probably going to come up. So,
and it makes some sense for them to oppose that, I think, because they have a tradition to maintain bloodlines.
Right.
So if you're of a noble bloodline and you don't want to have, sex with women, for example, that might be a problem. Like in the case of Dorian.
Yeah, you want to preserve the purity of your magical powers, and that's your standing within the class structure. Like that, we already know that. Like that's a finely established piece of lore, and I see nothing wrong because it's established lore and it's an issue to then use that, to play with that. That's totally fine.
Exactly. Unlike the Iron Bull.
Yeah, you don't just suddenly change. Like, oh well, there are some aspects of our culture that allow that. It's like no. You can't just suddenly throw that into the world. You have to actually explain where that came from and why Dorian's backstory was now subverted, because there's there's a faction that does that. They've been around for a long time. We're like, well, why didn't Dorian just go there and live his life there or whatever? So, it's kind of like that's what I'm scared is going to happen. You're going to have this other subversion of lore for the sake of it, because whatever agenda or whatever storytelling, which this guy is saying is not going to happen. It's like, well, what's stopping them? And especially with John Epler going, well, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and this is what I want to do. Another super chat. Yeah, Bull essentially says, Krem's a guy, deal with it. Let me respond to that instead of just telling me to deal with it. Options, by the way.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's no counter to it all. Whereas, like in Origins,
Sure.
When people are talking about Andraste, you as a dwarf or you as an elf, you can kind of go, you can stick your Andrastian religion up your bum. You know, like you can completely counteract it. You know, you can tell them to go get stuffed, even though that's the major religion in the game. You know, it's
that was a huge problem with Inquisition. Was religion was never a huge factor.
Yeah.
Even though you're the head of a religious organization, and maybe the Andrastians were the only ones who cared. And obviously, Cassandra looks at you as like the next coming of the Maker or whatever. And it just never really plays out well. It's never an issue of faith. It's never an issue of your troops believing in you or of hope or courage or any other virtue. It's just like, oh, you are the hand of whatever, the divine, not the hand of the divine, what was it? The Herald of Andraste. And it's like, you're gonna work that angle? You're gonna believe in that? You're gonna pursue that? Is there some actual mysticism and empirical behavior behind that aside from this magical orb thing that infected you? Like what? No, nothing. No backstory. No, just a guy.
Even when you give them the opportunity to kind of go, listen, I want to tell these guys the truth. It's like, no, no. It's like, no, you can't even tell the people the truth about what actually happened.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with injecting these ideas. It just do them well. Tell the story well. You want to have social justice elements? Go crazy. Does it make sense? Does it reflect what we've already established? And is this a huge point? Like with Dorian. With Dorian, if you control Dorian for any period of time, if say in the next game, and this becomes a choice, of course it's going to be an element. That's his character. That's who he is. It's very integral to his happiness and his lifestyle. So you'd have to include it. And if you don't, you'd be like, well, what's the point of controlling Dorian aside from him being a mage and having control? You can still do that. It just won't be very interesting. It won't be what we are expecting because you've introduced us to Dorian as a character, and that's what we want.
I expect this video will get quite a bit of hit. I hope my point came across in the most respectable manner. I really just wanted to kind of...
Yeah, he's doing fine. Like, I'm not saying his viewpoints are right, but he's not being offensive either. So he's being nice. It's fine. Please do not bomb this guy. He seems like a nice gentleman, so...
defend John here because Dragon Age has been stifled with politics on the very start, not social justice messaging and not any other agendas. I always feel like it's been very full circle in terms of collaborating and building a realistic world that doesn't actually have a political message that governs an agenda. They tackle
well, okay, I would agree. There is no actual agenda behind Orlais. There's no actual agenda behind Ferelden or whatever. That we can see directly connected to today's politics. That's true. And that's why we don't see it as a huge deal. It's just that when people come about and start saying, it's not a huge deal, I wear my heart on my sleeve, politics influences us, politics is art, art is politics, it's like, whoa, stop. Just shut up. Just make your game, man. Please don't start scaring us. Because we knew, in whatever capacity a visual designer from Mass Effect messed up those games, not directly, we don't know how, but this is a guy who can actually do some damage or influence it heavily. So that's what I'm at least scared of. But this is the last game for BioWare. I think we could all say that. Anthem, whether it does well or poorly, is irrelevant because it's not a BioWare game. It's from BioWare. It's just not... It's like if they made another Sonic game, it'd be like, okay. Great. I mean, that's good. You do that, you make some money, but we don't care. So, but Dragon Age is their next RPG. So if they screw this up, and the signs pointing to it, look, it's not looking very good so far. Again, we don't have much. But the signs from previous games are showing us that something bad's going to happen. And it's not going to be in the visual department. It's going to be in the story department. And that's where we're concerned. So
I think about Dragon Age 4 though, that it's everyone's still like the vast majority of BioWare, at least Edmonton, are working on Anthem at the moment to get that one at the door. So no one is actually working on. I'm working on Dragon Age 4, sorry, because like Mark Dara, basically, who was the executive producer for Dragon Age, for the new Dragon Age, he got called in to help on Anthem ages ago, and he's still working on it. So yeah, no one's actually working on Dragon Age at the moment. That's the thing; it's still up in the air. Whatever the I showed you that thing, didn't I? Where the they hired that freelance writer in, but he actually left last year in September.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did the Stellaris DLCs, and was it Stellaris? I think it was one of those. But yeah, he left ages ago, and that's when Laidlaw left, and then they basically said they're rebooting Dragon Age 4. So whatever Laidlaw did, and whatever they probably did, probably isn't even going to be touched into the game. It's something completely new.
What was that guy's name again? I can't remember.
Oh, I'm going to have to, 1 second.
I know he was a writer and he left. It was a Reddit post in September, or was it October, where he left. Like he announced.
Kennedy.
Sorry,
Alexis Kennedy.
Alexis Kennedy. Yeah, he announced that he was working for BioWare, and then it's just like, oh, he quit or he finished his work.
Yeah, like what happened with Drew with Anthem. Like Drew came back to do Anthem, then it's like, and then he just left again. It's like, oh, how much of his work's actually going to be in the game itself? How much has it been changed? We don't know.
Well, writers, that's what they do. They get called in to do the specific task of doing an outline, doing an entire chapter, doing dialogue, doing whatever, and then that's it. Their job is effectively done unless there's rewrites. So it's usually as quickly as possible, and you would certainly not want them to change things as they go. That would be chaos because you're starting from whole cloth again, and then you're building up an entire scene, and then you're getting your designers, and you're getting your developers, and then you're getting your.
That's what happened with Andromeda, wasn't it? You can clearly tell that the 12 writers were just too busy twiddling their thumbs, doing goodness knows what, probably picking up the world's easiest paycheck, I'd imagine, while everyone else was sat there waiting for them to actually write something down and actually put it into work.
I think the writers actually did do jobs. It was the rest of the project that said, oh, we can't do half of what we wanted to do. We can't do persistent or dynamic worlds, or we can't do, what was the other thing they cut? The not the real-time maps. What was it? I can't remember what the...
Well, it was just the idea of like being able to land on planets.
Was that the whole thing? The whole transition was seamless? Holy jeez, that's crazy.
That they wanted to try and basically make a small cluster, sorry, not in the universe, but a small cluster with Andromeda, and it's like you can't, even a first grade game designer out of university would go, that's impossible with Frostbite. Like they just take one look at it and kind of go, no. And this was back in 2014 when they were suggesting that. That was Gerard Lahani who came up with that, and then he left 2 months later after he was hired on, and BioWare just stuck with this bad idea. It's like, okay, it's clearly not working, mate. Get rid of it.
Well, hopefully we can look at some more content of Dragon Age over the year, or years, at least 2 or 3, before anything new comes by. And we'll be happy to critique it, and I do appreciate you guys for taking time to listening. Oh, we just got another super chat. My apologies. Anthem doesn't have romances. Isn't that like a BioWare staple? Exactly. That's why it's probably not a BioWare game. And someone made a master post of no romances, no real companions, etc. And they said, who is this game for if not BioWare fans? Now, that's a good question. Whether or not romance makes a BioWare game, I don't think so. I always look to Chris Avallone and his design philosophy of removing all the romantic and other aspects of a game. Planescape Torment, just games that just don't require. It's not about the romance, so it's primarily a BioWare thing to do that sort of thing. Even with KOTOR, it was very limited. It was never you weren't there to romance the characters in the story. They were just with you, and they saw you as companions. So. Yeah, I don't know if that's an issue. It's the same with the Outer Worlds. They don't have romance in their games. Also, very similar to Chris Avallone's ideology. it's a different game, of course. But yeah, these are things in BioWare games that you expect, which is choices matter, hopefully. So, asterisk. Romance, I guess. Dialogue choice, dialogue trees, cinematic views, voice acting with lip sync, and multiple endings. I think that's it. I think so.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it we'll get in Anthem.
But we do know it's a continuation from Inquisition, so that's all we know about the new game. And I don't know.
BioWare's really good at continuing storylines, aren't they?
Oh, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
So exciting. I have no expectations, so I have no idea what to expect. For good or bad, it's just, they're going to make one. People are going to buy it. And
I don't know, actually.
They'll buy it, just not as much as we think it will. Like, look at the stats for Mass Effect. I think Andromeda sold 2.5 million.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was saying this to you. I'm not sure I was saying this on another podcast, but the reason why that thing got shut down was because they're under EA's blanket. If you make a wrong prediction on how many sales you're going to make within your first quarter, it's neggers cheggers, mate, for you. You're like, no, you're out. And that's why Aaron Flynn kind of left, because he made such a horrible prediction. He said it was going to make 5 million copies within its first quarter.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it fell short of that. And he was like, it's going to be sold at full price. It was on sale a week late.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So Aaron Flynn made a real big boo-boo there.
Well, this is with Laidlaw always comparing the Dragon Age franchise to the Witcher franchise and saying, well, if you like squad-based combat and dialogue options, play Dragon Age. If you like singular linear stories, play Witcher. And I'm like, well, yeah.
That's not really true about the linear choices.
Well, it depends on how you take The Witcher. Witcher is a lot of things to a lot of people. So comparing it to the Dragon Age franchise is not the best compare. I mean, I would never say, okay, look at the quality on every level and compare it to Dragon Age and go, wait a second. You can't really do that.
No.
The level of technology they're using, the rendering engine, the choices, the dialogue system, everything's totally on another level. And it's just not the same. Yes, you can look at the dialogue in Dragon Age 2 and say it's pretty fun and entertaining, and I'll give them that, but pretty good on Witcher 2 and 3 too.
Yeah, I think this is overall BioWare's problem. They wanted to become a big AAA company, but they just don't have the talent for it. They'll still, no matter how much money EA gives them,
right,
they will still be this middle market studio.
It's like imagine Obsidian got drunk with money. And
right.
Yeah, no, it's Obsidian is great, but they know what they're doing, and they know what they're not. And when you suddenly get bought out by Microsoft and then by EA, you're like, oh, we can do the next
MMO.
And then, oh my God, don't. That's like how many millions do you want to blow on just time? 100 million, 200 million. Oh, Jesus.
Store was actually cost quite a fair penny, didn't it?
The Old Republic. Oh yeah, I think that was rumored to be the most expensive game ever made up until that point.
For production alone, the estimates were between $200 and $300 million.
Well, they're still making content. It's still going on.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah, but its MMO aspect failed basically.
Yeah, that game upon release was an unmitigated disaster and as an MMO, it was bad. But when BioWare kind of corrected it and made it into just a single-player RPG that has multiplayer elements, then it kind of found its footing, really. And I think that's where I can actually agree with it, kind of go, yeah, it's now found its footing. But if you treat it like an MMO, it's just bad, plain and simple.
And if you want more information on the Old Republic, xLetalis is one of the better YouTubers I've seen out there who's covered it over the years. They just released, new DLC this month?
Siege of Jedi, was it? Jedi on the Siege?
Jedi on the Siege, yeah.
Yeah, so
I've been all over it.
You have, and I've been watching some, so there's definitely lots of videos of his to watch, and that's what he's known for. He covers this stuff, what he's passionate about, very quickly. So check out his channel. I'll leave a link in the description when I bake this or whenever this video gets updated. And I'd like to thank everyone for spending all this time with us. It wasn't as long as I thought it would be, and thankfully it
only about 2 hours.
2.5, roughly, roughly up there. Yeah, we tend to go overboard, but that's okay. This is one of our favorite things to do is talk about BioWare games and pontificate. But whenever someone defends some aspect of the game, we have to say why, how. Maybe we've missed something. Maybe I've missed something. Maybe our biases are in the way. Maybe theirs are. Let's find out. So anytime someone has a video for me or a comment, just send it my way. I'll get a specialist like xLetalis and UDP here, and we'll see what's what. If it's true, if it's a fanboy just going crazy, do share the story. So thanks, guys. We appreciate your time, and thanks to all the super chats. That was great. And we'll see you next week. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and have a great day.
Perfect send-off. Nothing to add.